Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lightbringers podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Guild Wars 2, obviously. Surprise, surprise. I mean, last week we talked about those. We talked about some. It's mostly Guild. It's a Guild Wars 2 podcast. What am I talking about? We're going to be talking about the new update. I actually forgot the name of it just now.
Realm of Dreams.
That one.
Realm of Dreams.
I was so. I think so.
Hello.
Hi.
You're on screen.
Oh, hi.
Oh my god, we
I didn't
are.
know if you were doing your intro where we were all silenced. I was gonna grief you like.
Oh, I
Boots, since Boots
stopped.
can't be here this week.
Stopped unmuting you ages ago. I just said it
That's
to
the
like
strat. Don't
really
tell us.
like. Well, don't tell Boots. It's mostly Boots, so like he can be kept in check. Which is fine. We're going to be talking about the new update. We're not going to be talking about story spoilers. So do not fear if you are here live right now, or you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, or many of the other services that you partake in when watching or listening to this wonderful podcast with epic people. There is no spoilers of the story. There will be next week. There may be like a tiny little bit here and there of like, oh, you know, and then I'll say, no. Good Lord.
And then we'll
Shut
say it
up,
anyways.
And then, well,
yeah.
Boots isn't here, so don't worry about that. Too much. But let's do a quickie intro. Oh, I've got a really random question, actually, which you can fit into your little intro.
Okay.
So, I want to know what you do, where you do it, but also, if you were a Cryptus villager, as we have come across in the latest map, which is absolutely wonderful. What would you eat as your breakfast, lunch, or dinner in Ananias? What would be your meal? That's a very random question, which I just came out.
Like your favorite emotion?
Your favorite thing? Because you eat emotions. But also, if you have done any of the events, they actually eat edible food.
Oh, I missed what the specific food was.
I believe it's
like
the vegetable things.
Oh, it's just
human food. I don't even
So
know.
basically,
Apples.
what you're asking us is just what we eat and what we.
Yeah, but you've got to
What we
think about
like?
your limitations. Your interior for a start, and you're
I like
in
the emotion.
Nias.
I mean, I guess you could choose either
You
or.
can do emotions
so.
as well. We don't know that they don't eat emotions. Yeah, tell me which emotion you do. Yeah, actually, that's a better good. Let's just
Okay.
do that. Let's do that. It's very random. Kroof. Sorry.
Oh, I was like, who's gonna start? Hi everyone, I'm Kroof. I do Guild Wars 2 coverage here on Twitch, especially this week because the drops have been dropping, and on YouTube as well. And I am finally going to be making a YouTube video after 7 years of not posting anything. I really was actually waiting for this update, so I'm really happy about that.
Cool.
So go follow me on everything if you'd like to. If you don't want to, it's whatever. It's a free country. It's a free internet. I respect that. And as for the emotion that I would eat, probably lust. Probably like horny energy.
Hell yes! Yeah, hell yeah!
I like that you just went straight to horny energy.
Yeah.
Straight
I
afterwards.
think I would consume that because I think it'd be really. Isn't Paitha, kind of has connection in terms of her naming convention? That element of like seduction, temptingness. So
I mean, she definitely seduced me, so.
I think as a Cryptus, I'd want to kind of embody that as well. I think Paitha is a great role model for that. So
Okay.
I choose lust.
Okay. Lust. No one can take that one.
Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
Is mayonnaise an emotion?
My favorite emotion is mayonnaise.
Yeah. That's a good answer too.
It depends though.
Shout out, chat. It was good.
Okay. Fornax or Rickery, which one wants to go next? Or should I pick? Because then you
I'll
don't
go.
have to choose.
I'll do it. That way we save
Yeah.
the best for last, because Fornex is the best. Oh, I'm so sorry, Jebro, you too as well, I guess.
Oh.
If you go last.
Oh, I didn't even think about answering that question. So yeah, go.
Well, start thinking.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rook, aka Rookery. You can find me on my Twitch at Rookery. That's ROOKURI. You can find me on YouTube. And it's so funny that you mentioned that, Karoof, because at long last, the first My first YouTube video in 84 years has gone up as of today. At long last, they are back. My editor is back. I'm back from the void that was the end of year and into New Year's. So you can find me on YouTube at the same now, and new video today. And you can find me on Twitter at rookery_. I love MMOs. I love MMORPGs. I love Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy 14, World of Warcraft. And I've been casting a lot of events for them as well. So if I'm not live on my channel or the podcast that I do, I might be hosting, commentating, or casting an event in a game that you love. So check that out. The emotions that I would eat were I a Cryptus would be the joy of good company, like good friends, that like feeling of just like being with people that you love being around, as well as moments of
Do you mean joy?
That's an emotion. That's an exact flavor of emotion. It's a specific niche emotion, love. And then also the emotion of like sharing deep intimacy, you know, like sharing like a really deep meaningful thing about yourself with somebody in like a bonding moment, or just like being emotionally intimate. Yeah, I think I would eat that.
Vulnerability is the word you're looking for there.
There we go. Yeah, that one. Vulnerability. Yeah.
The condition. Wow.
I'd love to try
Condy
on that.
cleanse.
I mean, it had a double whammy there, so I like it. Very good. Vulnerability is the essence of connection, basically. You can't have connection without it. Yes.
I want to eat that.
Oh yeah. Okay, lovely answer. Awesome. Good job, peeps. Fornax.
Yo.
Yo.
Yo, bitches. Hi.
You know what, Fornax? I watched an Instagram video this morning, and it was about 90s phrases to keep you hip in the 90s, based in America, and yo was the first one.
All right, there it is.
Well, yeah.
And there were some others that I've never heard of before. It's just like what does bucked mean? That's really random. Anyway, keep going.
Well, okay, yeah, sorry. Hi. I'm Fornax, the Crichton Herald. And yeah, I make content on the internet, on YouTube mainly.
That's true.
I just dropped a Guild Wars 2 Realm of Dreams loot guide. So all the lovely loot, including all the legendary stuff, is showcased on there and how to get it and stuff like that. So that's on my channel at the moment. That's the latest video. What the fuck? So you want me to, what do I want
Not
to
doing
eat?
great on the swearing thing today.
Immediately, sorry. You're gonna have to
Just
bleep
balls that out. I'm not going to edit this.
It was an ASMR
I do
version,
not
it's fine.
edit.
It was. So, I mean, I was like, you're all like emotional stability and all these integral things, and I'm like thinking like the tears of flat earthers, the despair of lore hounds in the game wanting more content than they're getting. I don't know. I mean, something in that vein. I don't know.
Okay.
You are what you eat.
Yeah, true.
I like that. It's very good.
This bitch is hollow inside now. I just like I ring like a drum. Yeah.
Emptiness.
Anyway.
Yeah, Clark, I mean, that pretty much sums up the podcast, actually. Within the first minute, 1 horniness and 2 F word. Yes. That's pretty accurate, actually.
Yeah, that's it.
No, none of you have made a Guild Wars 2 in 2024 video yet? I mean, come on now.
Spoilers, kind of what I'm planning on doing.
Oh, Crew, no!
Oh my god.
That's why I was waiting on this video. It's the most substantial
one
part
of
of
those.
content.
You're going into the dark.
I'm not just one of those. I'm the only one.
That is definitely true.
That was so cringy to say. Ooh, someone please delete that from the internet.
Oh god, someone clip that. So I'm Jebro. Twitch.tv/JebroUnity. 1 p.m. Pacific-ish on a Friday is when we put the podcast on. YouTube.com/JebroUnity as well. It's mostly the episodes, the podcasts which go up on there. Anchor.fm/JebroUnity is where you can listen to it on Spotify, as well as check out the video on Spotify, as well as watching and listening to on iTunes, Google, all the things, podcast places. What emotion would I eat?
Pause for effect.
Considering, contemplating, pondering.
Indecisiveness. So exciting. It's a buffet. There's too many options.
There is too many options. I've got so in my office, I keep a emotions wheel, right? Which you'd think would be really cheesy, kind of corny, but it's the biggest hit in the world. People absolutely adore that thing. Why? Because people don't know too many emotional words. Like they don't know many words around like feelings and how they explain them. Which is why I'm drawing a bit of a blank right now. Because I can't remember them all. You want to go run
and get the wheel real quick?
I'm literally going to look at my feels wheel, and I will actually post it in chat as well because it's a very good one. It's a wheel which is very interactive. I will eat the feeling of nostalgia. I love nostalgia. Oh yeah, nostalgia. I love that nostalgia. We were talking about it just now as well. We were talking about gigantic.
We were.
I love that tasty nostalgia. You gotta love it. You know, nostalgia always comes back around as well because it's in our fashion, it's in our music, it's in everything. Nostalgia.
It's got that umami flavor.
Absolutely.
Mamba berries.
You know what I'm gonna do right now? I'm gonna put it in the chat because it's a top feels wheel, peeps. It's in my I'll put it in the description of the video as well. If you ever thought about your feelings and what you're feeling at the moment, you can click on that, and if you click on one, it opens out to all of those feelings that refer to it or are linked. It's very good, very awesome. I'll put it in the description of the video. Awesome, good. I love that. That's good times. I'm going to show Vornax's video in a bit as well, which is Through the Veil Luke showcase, which is going to be something we talk about because Luke is part of the expansion. We're not going to talk about story spoilers. First of all, it's a bit difficult because obviously, I mean, you don't necessarily have to go into you don't start the story. Sorry, you don't start in the map with the story because the map's already started off. So we can talk about the story. Sorry, the map without talking about the story. Excellent.
Jebro's like, we're not going to do story spoilers today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about story.
Yeah, so we can talk about the story. So we're going to
first things first.
The climax of the episode.
What is the first thing you did when you got into the update, barring story?
Wizard's Vault.
You went straight to the vault? Okay, good. I can go straight to that then.
My legendary relic.
You did?
Oh, yep. I equipped that instantly. Oh, it was so nice. I
think
double clicked, socketed into my character. I could pick any of the relics that I had already. I love the feeling of a legendary.
You do?
No, not really. That was the very first thing. I was like, all of the efforts that I put into
crafting where you were going with
that legendary rune, it's paid off. It's paid off.
Okay, so you equipped the rune. What was your first? What was the first thing you actually spec'd into though with the rune, the legendary rune?
I was on my conditioned firebrand build, so I finally slotted in the relic of the fractal because I did not purchase the relic of the fractal because I was not wasting my research notes on that. No, ma'am. So I was running with the basic condition damage ones that they just gave you, which are not great, but like they get you get by. So I could finally play a little bit more meta.
When you inflict bleeding on an enemy with 6 or more stacks of bleeding, also inflict burning and torment.
It's pretty strong. It's pretty strong.
Nice.
It has a 20-second cooldown though, but I don't know if the meta shifted.
I mean, that's kind of fairly standard. It's good. Yes. Yeah. I think I had to equip it because it was just in my face. That wasn't the thing I wanted to go and do. I'm going to let Rook answer that question because I'm pretty sure that's one of the first things I did.
What? Equipping something so it wasn't in your face?
No. So it's the first thing you did when you got into the game.
Wizard's Vault! Cat chair Wizard's Vault! Are you kidding me? Like, what? Look, the legendary stuff, garbage. The only thing that matters is that they released, I say this word knowing that it's heavily laden with other connotations that aren't great, but the crazy cat lady chair. Listen, it just had to happen. I love this. I love the cat tree chair. It's hilarious. So I immediately went and bought that. And then I also bought some of the other stuff because I had some saved up. So I got some of the armor pieces and the weapons look great. It was so funny. We were literally talking about not too long ago on the podcast that I remember if it was Fornax specifically that said that you had wished that they had released some things that were more themed specifically to like Secrets of the Obscure or to the Wizards and stuff as part of the vault. And like, here it was. And I was like, this is so great that we have these outfits and everything else that they've kind of put in. So I loved that. I thought that was great. And I immediately went and bought a bunch of stuff.
I'm showing it off now as well. If you go first person, you can actually zoom in on the cats.
They're so cute. The chair has like a little tail, which is also adorable. Somebody pointed that out to me on stream.
Oh, yeah, I never noticed that. That's cool. What a nice little...
Are pretty HD.
Yeah, they are the best quality cats in the game, probably. They feel more like the one at the back next to the big
Very cute.
helmet thing. I don't know what that is.
I still have not purchased the cat
Well,
chair.
you need to get on it, and I'm a little disappointed in you, Kurf. I'm not gonna lie, but that's okay. There's time to change your ways. And do what needs to be done. So.
What's that on the floor? On the floor of it, and there's like is that food or is that a cat cake?
There's a mouse. There's a bowl. There's all sorts of things. I tell you what, it did make me want for chairs. It made me want the ability to dye them. Especially with the color scheme. I thought it would be wonderful, right? It's so cute. Maybe even dye the
20
cats.
dye channels.
Oh god,
Absolutely.
at least on that. That's a lot. It's very good. I think the variation of things. I don't know if I've even got. I've bought a lot of stuff already, so I'm like, oh yeah. There was the hat, the gloves, the boots, the cat chair. There was also the leaf glider, which I'll probably get. I'll get it, but I'm not in a rush to get it. It's all right. It's a glider. It's free. Pretty much.
Is it the first free glider outside of expansion purchases? I think it might be, which is lovely to see. So.
Oh, that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, first free. No, actually, but it's not the first.
I mean,
chair
you can
that we get for-
craft them. I
you
guess.
Get Doom, didn't you?
You can technically craft some
True.
gliders.
Oh, the legendaries. Yeah, you're right. But in terms of just purchasing off of like
Yeah.
the vendor, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the
I
vault.
liked-
yeah.
I like the point too. So Shavarim in chat mentions the glasses. So if you get that sort
right.
of wizard's hat, you also get an appearance with that's just the glasses, which is really nice. So you get the hat, glasses combo, and just the glasses. What?
But if you just want the hat and no glasses, sorry about it.
You're out of luck.
Oh really?
Sorry
Okay, I
about
didn't
it.
even check that.
You can get the hat and the glasses, or you can just get the glasses. But if you just want the hat, you have to uninstall. So sorry.
I like the dramatic like drop there. You're just gonna have to uninstall the game. That's actually okay. That's unfortunate. Actually, I would prefer
Yeah,
not
at
to do
first
that.
I was feeling type of way about it, but then I realized I'm mostly just staring at the back of my character's head anyway, so I'm
How
kind of
many
over it.
wizards
It's cool.
with hats don't have glasses though? I mean, actually, to be fair, Gandalf doesn't.
In lore, my character has like great eyesight, and yeah, it might be for like sun protection, but what
I
if
think they're
wanna
more
burn
like
holes into my retina?
sunglasses. I'm looking at it now. Like they kind of look more like
Yeah.
sunnies, to be fair. So this is what you get. You get the boots there. You get the gloves, which are cool. They're very wizardy. And I use the on my human character. I'm using the shoulder piece that we got from. I think that was the Christmas event. It looks pretty cool.
They're kind of Bram Stoker's Dracula glasses, aren't they? I seem to
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
some
yeah.
sort of
A little bit.
pinchy nose thing. Yeah.
That's very cool. I like that a lot.
They dye up a treat as well. It's nice to have different colours on the lenses. That feels kind of Victorian. Yeah.
Oh,
really like that.
I didn't
And-
notice that.
I am so in love with the hat and the gloves and the boots, and I'm super excited for the shoulders, the chest, and the legs. But the hat really sells some Final Fantasy XIV Astral
Yeah,
Vault vibes, and
actually
Yeah.
very true.
But I'm gonna be honest, I absolutely love it so much, and I only wish that the astrolabe weapons that also came with this, that the focus was just like a floating orb. I think that-
Yeah.
it was. I love that aesthetic, and I'm really happy that we're getting a little bit of that, additional choice for Guild Wars 2.
Lovely.
Well, thinking about it, the astral. We have that with this weapon set, the solar astrolabe. We have that kind of rotating solar system type feel to them, which is lovely.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
did
it's super cool.
What did you do, Fornax, when you first got in?
Had to deal with the legendary popping up immediately.
I mean, other than that. Just saying.
Look, I'm happy. Anyone wants to give me a free legendary, I'll take it.
It wasn't free, so I had to craft it.
True, I did. I crafted a single rune to get it.
It was expensive, though.
expensive.
Some of them were like, if you crafted it from base, it was like 900 gold. So
Yeah, some of them.
that's pretty expensive. It wasn't that much
It's fairly
originally.
expensive. I don't know. I think I've become a nerd to it all after all the weapons and armors that I've crafted. It just feels like normal crafting to me now. I've lost all
Right.
sense. It's like just too much salt in my mouth at this point, so I can't taste anything. And then I basically just played through the story. I jumped on, listened to the sultry tones of Patha and jumped in and carried on. Yeah, and that was
Nice.
that. She's so bassy. She like bursts out
so
my
good.
speakers. She's so bassy.
It's good. It's good. These weapons are probably the best ones so far. Look at this focus. It's so good. I love this focus. It's so original. I don't even know what it is. It's like a telescope slash.
Telescope's like sextant?
Yeah. That's it. Exactly. I had that in my head. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. You got that from that. Okay. I was like, yeah, because it's really interesting and just very unique. Very good. And I like that little kind of globe in the moment. It's very cool. Like they're not like really loud. There's just this piece to it. It reminds me of like some reason a clock or something, but not.
The greatsword as well is amazing. It's got a very large disc of spinning balls. They do like their
Of course,
spinning
you
balls.
love those
and
balls.
too.
They explode. What? You went straight for the balls.
Hey,
I didn't make the weapons. I'm just saying.
That's true.
don't threaten me with some good
Somebody's
fashion.
got a special interest in the office. That's all I can say.
Wait, you said greatsword, right? Where is it?
We applaud you.
Oh yeah, that thing is cool. Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like the sword is the sword, and then it's just like on the top of it, it's
The
just
sword
like
is the sword.
what?
Yeah, it's cool.
That's so random. I
Reminds
love
me
that.
of like celestial bodies, you know, like if you have like the planets with like a solar system where it has the bodies moving around each other kind of thing. It's
That's
like
cool. Yeah, that's a good point. It's the same with the gun as well, really. The guns as well. I mean, because normally every time as well with Warhorns, you're just like, oh, it's just gonna be some basic Warhorn. And because how many times can you redesign a Warhorn? I mean, really, that's one of the most difficult ones. But this is amazing, honestly. This is really good, solid, lovely.
It's one of the hardest ones to capture, by the way. If
Yeah.
ever you wonder why Warhorns are not captured very well in videos, it's because you just can't get the right angle on them. And then they always seem to clip through your character's thigh, which is annoying. But clipping is going to clip. I mean, it's spaghetti code, I guess.
Torch is pretty cool as well. It's a hammer. Oh, the hammer! Oh, that's cool. Love that. That's nice. Damn it, I've got to get these. I'm going to get these. Excellent. There's many
They're very
things I
good.
want to get. Yes.
Now, I did hear some feedback about the fact that some folks felt as though the rewards this time around were too heavily weighted towards people who owned Secrets of the Obscure, and that they didn't. Yeah, and that they didn't necessarily feel like if you were on other portions of the game or if you didn't have Secrets of the Obscure that you got as much from this Wizard's Vault refresh. And I guess I'm curious about what all of you think of that. I know, at least for me, it's kind of tough because honestly, I think it's just great that they introduced this for all versions of the account as well. The Wizard's Vault as a feature, I should say. But
Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel like there's anything wrong, especially with, you know, a current expansion, you know, that we're like in the middle of. I personally don't feel like there's anything wrong with having things be a little bit more weighted towards needing to have that content in order to earn certain rewards.
Which
And it kind of
rewards
feels-
do you mean? Sorry, I don't know which ones that you need. What do you need the expansion for in this?
I
Do you need
think
it for the?
was the armor pieces and maybe the chair and the glider.
Can you get the weapons? Not.
Really?
Can you get the weapons without it?
I imagine you Maybe you can't.
I have
did
no
see
idea. I don't
something
know.
in passing that it was a little bit more on the side of Secrets of the Obscure as well, but I don't know which ones in particular.
You need
I
it
know
for
it's
the new
like.
weapons.
You do need it for the new weapons.
Oh, okay.
But about the boxes,
Yeah, and I mean, I guess to me, this is kind of the compromise, right? For not necessarily doing something like a paid tier of a battle pass-like system, where you have to buy the expansion to get certain rewards that might be kind of specifically thematically related to that expansion. But it's not as though you're having to constantly buy a bunch of tiers. I don't know. I mean, like, I guess kind of it equates to revenue generally for ArenaNet, but to me, it doesn't feel as bad as it does sometimes in other games like Diablo 4, for example, where there were like no good things if you didn't buy the paid battle pass and you just knew, coming up next, you're going to have to pay for a whole nother thing all over again, as opposed to like getting a bunch of content and all kinds of other stuff for your money's worth, and then also being able to get these rewards whenever you have that content, because they don't leave the stores, so you can always get them later. But
wait, so
That's another element.
Can you access this at all as a free-to-play account, play for free account?
Yes, but there are certain items such as like the weapons and the armor skins that will be locked behind the expansion.
I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna be like, I mean, come on, man. Like if you're not paying for anything in the game, like, I mean, it's really not that bad. It's like buying an expansion and then also paying for a battle pass like forever. It's $25, man. It's really, I mean, I know we're talking about accessibility. There is going to be some price to play for an MMORPG in a video game. It's really it's just not that bad. And accessibility is something I'm pretty heavy on in everything. And I really don't think it's that bad. Sure, is there a way it could be implemented a little bit more so maybe you can get it in the past? Maybe they implement it so when it refreshes, then you can get it so that it's in the past vault and then you can access it because it's a bit more expensive. Sure, maybe that. But I think it is, at the end of the day, you're not paying for a sub. The only thing you're paying for is an expansion and stuff you buy off the Blind Lion Trading Company. They need to make money. They have to make money. This is a business. This is a video game. For us, it's a live service. For them to continue to make a game that we love and continue to bring us rewards, to continue to literally make the skins that they have right there, they need artists, they need graphics designers, they need all of these different things, which cost moolah, everyone. So honestly, not bothered whatsoever. And I think it's just and also it's not power. It's just a chair.
Yeah, I think also for people who might be free-to-play players to look at it in the perspective of if I was playing another game, and I didn't necessarily own a particular expansion, there are certain cosmetic rewards that are exclusive to various expansions that tends to be a practice for almost every MMORPG, and I think this is a way in which that it's kind of mimicked, because most often you can buy many skins off of the trading post and they end up getting proliferated throughout the economy.
And literally next year, this expansion is going to cost probably $15, $20 max. So it's going to go down as well. So you're not even going to have to wait that long. So it's because it's this year. It's not even next year. It's this year.
I tend to look at this as just these are the cosmetic weapon or armor skin rewards that you would get in a particular expansion.
Sure.
So at first I was a little but now I'm also kind of looking at it in that perspective. I'm it's kind of a standard practice in expansions.
I like that way of explaining it as well.
I wonder in the future if we're going to get Wizard's Vault themed around the previous expansions, so we could have a Heart of Thorns with all sorts of Heart of Thorns,
That'd be sick.
obscure loot.
Love
That would be
idea.
fun.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Also, I'm not trying to invalidate people's feelings. You can feel the way you feel about it. I just think that it's, I mean, come on. It's really not that bad. You need to do the story to even get the new weapons on. Not in the vault. Not in the vault. That's not true.
No, you just have to own the
Just need to
expansion.
own it.
Yeah.
But it's not like you have to be
literally-
progressed
you
to
don't.
a certain point. Yeah.
It's not none of this is story. specific.
Unless it's bugged.
I mean, maybe, but
But from all of our knowledge, it seems like that is not the intention of the Wizard's Vault. It's just like a separate, free battle pass thing where you
Also-
can get cosmetic rewards.
I did see the raid. Sorry, I don't tend to talk about all the things that are going on in the chat, like subs and everything else. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Lelling, as well. Please make sure you go raid and follow them. Raid them? I mean, you can raid them if you want. Also, I just want to make sure that we don't forget Fornax in this, and we can come back to the vault if you want. But what did you do first of all? Oh no, wait, did you tell me? You may have actually. You said story.
I did.
Ah,
I did. I jumped into the story.
Okay. What else? I mean, you would have just done everything else while you were doing that.
I
I guess.
jumped into the story too. That's the very thing I did.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else? Sorry, go on, Phonics.
I mean, I did kind of check out to see how far through, because I've decided now that the legendary armors have come out, I wanted to sort of see them in the flesh, as it were, because it's a huge amount of work. And so I waited. I got to experience the legendary armors nicely on the test realm, so I could actually have a look at them and walk them around and play with the dies and stuff. I think they're amazing. I think they're some of the best looking kit that I've seen in a long time, especially for medium armor. And I've decided that I'm going to go that way. So I was like checking out to see all the hoops I'm going to have to jump through and what I'm going to have to craft. So I've got a kind of a long to-do list to get my medium armor.
Yeah,
which
let me just jump
lovely.
and show this.
Yeah,
to
if you like Shredder or Mortal Kombat, that medium armor is kind of peak, I have to say.
Yeah, I do like Shredder. Let me just go over to Consecration. Oh, you showed everything so far. Oh wait, maybe I've gone with the wrong one. I've gone with the wrong one. Okay, let me find it.
If you're looking for the legendary armor, if you're on my video, I don't know whether you're it's right at the very start. It's the first thing I did.
Oh yeah, I wasn't. I was just generally on YouTube. Oh my god.
Ah, fair enough.
Okay, 5 seconds and I'll show it. So is now interesting. Is this now as you do a lot of the fashion stuff in the game as well? I'd love to know your opinion. Is this your favorite look, legendary wise? Do you think these are your favorite legendary armors, or do you just have different ones from different? I mean, I think in general, if you look at all three of them across the board, I think it's the best set personally. If you look at all three armor weights, it could be the best.
And this is tier 1. We're gonna get upgraded visuals to this.
Bloody hell, Fornax! Look at the job you've done on this video.
I know, it's so
Whoa, look at this. This is like proper. They need to someone needs to hire you to edit their fashion stuff. I'm serious. This is so well made. This is actually ridiculous. I mean, I know you've always. Wow, look at that. I love that. Oh man, Arena needs to employ you. I'm sorry, they do. They need to employ you to show off their armor and stuff. I am deadly serious. # employ Fornax at ArenaNet. I'm just like,
That's very sweet.
I mean, this is really good. This is really good. Look at that heavy armor. Where did you pick?
The heavy armor is beautiful.
Where's the light for that? Oh, I knew it. You know what? Is that under that lamp that you told us about in the char base?
In the Citadel.
I remember that. Yep. That's so good. Oh, that's so good.
It's so cheaty. It's so cheaty.
I mean,
it's nice.
This is the way, right? This is the way. Really good.
But yeah. So I was never a huge
shout
fan
out to
of the
World
raid armor.
Offenders. That's beautiful. I love it.
I know.
Sorry.
The line was that every game type now has a pathway to legendary armor apart from adventures, and then I shouted him out because he's such a lovely chap. But I was never a huge fan of the raid armor. I mean, I think that the visuals on the raid armor are amazing. All the kind of unfurling graphics are just awesome. But I was never a huge fan. The only one I really loved was the heavy, and I'm really excited to see the visual effects that they're going to add, because if you look at the World v World and PvP armor, they basically got like particle effects inside the armor and like angelic wings on pretty much both of them.
That's right.
So I'm really looking forward to see how they kind of tweak this and what hoops we're going to have to jump through to get the pretty particle effects. But yeah, I think from like a lore perspective and from a coherent set perspective and just beautiful design, I think hands down this kicks it out of the park.
Just as a thing to mention aside, this is on the a client which partners have access to, so Fornex does not have all of this, and this is why we do need to say that this is on our stage client, which is something we do have access to, and we're allowed to tell you about that.
Which I am very clear about, and yet still people.
I need to say
like, how did you get all this stuff? I'm like, bitch, I was on the test realm. I was just getting to look at the shop.
Exactly. I just need to say it during the podcast as well.
Shout out Lord Hyzen. He got every single piece of legendary armor.
Oh my god.
The day it dropped.
Powerful.
Either the day or the next. I think it was the day.
I think it was
the day.
Actual day, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Lord Hyzen.
Yeah.
Absolute legend.
It's so interesting because I think that there may be a sense of very different experience through Secrets of the Obscure, depending on whether or not you were grinding and prepping for legendary armor or not. Because I feel like if you were doing legendary and you were like prepping for it and you were running all the content and everything, you probably have had much more to do, kind of like from the week to week, and different goals and benchmarks and like structure to additional kind of runs and content that you're doing, than if you had decided not to pursue this, or if you waited and you were like, oh, maybe I'll do it. Like, I feel as though a lot of the folks that I have spoken with that, you know, maybe have just been taking a break in recent months or just like stepped away for a bit after the initial launch of Secrets of the Obscure, likely haven't been engaging with a lot of that, because like maybe you log in, you do some rifts or you do whatever, but you do some of the new metas. But I think maybe the expansion itself was kind of structured around even having this content of working on something like the legendary PvE armor.
You've gone for some very scantily clad outfits here. Good points. Good points. Do we want to talk more about the vault?
You were distracted by the pixels.
No, I was just like, I need to make characters that look this good.
Jebro's like, Rook said words, but I didn't hear any of them because I'm just watching Fornax's video. So good points, Rook.
So
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Good points.
Yeah, but I do
really
think this experience, and not just because of its visuals, because you can always change the visuals of any piece of armor in the game, but the actual quest line that you have to go through to attain this in terms of farming those rifts. I think it'll be great that people who don't necessarily want to play raids now have an option to go after legendary armor, which might require a decent amount of grind, you know, of course, with the rifts, but you also have the option to do convergences now. So there's a little bit of extra choice that you can make in terms of how you collect all of these materials. And I think in terms of longevity, it might get, I wonder, because a lot of people are focusing on rifts and it's the more current content. So I wonder how many, like a couple years down the line, if people will have as easy of a time or maybe more difficult of a time running these rifts, or if there will be other systems in place to kind of counteract that. But I think, you know, strike while the iron's hot, as they say, and it looks, personally, it's my favorite set. I like things that are a little bit more simplistic and not super flashy, but have really refined detail. And I love the heavy set so much.
Oh my god, I'm looking at all these rewards that I just didn't even know about. The capes and stuff.
Yeah,
yes,
those are really
Griff,
cool.
agree.
Oh, those are like the different, I didn't know those were in there. Those are the different banners of the, like the parts of the Wizards organizations. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, the bastions. They die up a treat. Yeah, they're
very
beautiful.
good. They clip a little bit looking like it, which is a bit interesting.
Hey, it's not my fault. My character's a fat ass.
With the shoulders though. Oh, the trapper's cloak is very different.
Ooh, that's fun.
That's very different design though, isn't it? Because
That's
like, look at
great
the
for Norn.
thickness of it. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's like peak Norn fashion, which is why you went to the Norn. No, you didn't. You were still in the jar place, but you got a Norn. With the coach. Wait, what's the arm? Wait, what is the arm?
That's the ceremonial bear. ceremonial
Is it?
bear armor, because it's
Ceremonial
huntery. It's kind of
bear.
like trapper.
Where do you get that from?
You can get it. You can get it from the Cold War strike, or you can get it
What?
on the trading post for a few gold.
Okay.
And there's a raven version of it as well, which is feathers.
What?
That's very boobalicious.
Alright, what's
so,
it called?
Yeah.
Raven Shaman.
Well, I'm serious. What is it called?
It's called the Bear Ceremonial Armor.
Okay.
Icebrute Saga rewards coming back, hitting hard.
Like,
mean-
there were some good ones that were hidden in there, and that like.
There always is, Rook. There always
Well, I mean, there are
is.
always good
I'm
things, but I
sad.
have to say, particularly with Iceberg Saga, there were a lot of things that were hidden in there as far as rewards go that, like, either because of low drop rates or other things, I think, like, people just didn't even realize existed for a really long time.
That's really good. I love that. Awesome. And then you've got the Sarek's back piece. I think I knew about this, but wow, that is immense.
Well, it looks amazing, especially if you pair it with the Cryptus armor that we
You
get.
did at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Was,
really
that, was
pretty.
that on the out? How do you get that armor as well? I can't remember. I know it exists, but I can't remember how you actually get it.
It's one of the
So you get
precursors
that
for
from-
the
It's a
legendary.
precursor for legendary.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, you get it from Leah in the tower,
Oh,
and
what a
there's
legend.
another random vendor.
Oh yeah, I remember. There's research notes involved, which is why I don't care. Sorry, I hate that.
But now you can salvage all of your relics to get some, research notes.
Oh right. Oh okay. Okay. That's
That
fair.
was deeply satisfying.
what
I
I'm
was
doing.
so sick of those because in my bag. It was
Oh,
so
I've got
bad.
a lot. That's okay. That's good. Okay. All right. Please go and check out that video if you haven't already. Check out Fornax's YouTube. Very, very awesome. That's where they make most of their content. Wicked. Good stuff. Okay, I'm gonna go over there and go back into the game. So Wizards Vault is just one part of the expansion. Another part of the expansion update is also the map as well. We're gonna jump into talking about the map, I think, because that's a huge... Right, this is not the character to go on for that. So, judging by the map as well, which is interesting, we've got Inner Nios, and then we've got like the western part of... eastern part of Nios. Wow. You gotta do that whole left-right thing right now. Remember doing that as a kid? No? Okay.
No.
You didn't? That was like an English staple. It's an
I was
L,
just like
so it's
I was
left.
just like a prodigy, so like I didn't need that.
You were a prodigy,
Yeah.
so you knew your way from left.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Right out the gate.
You're
Really
up
good
for
with
it,
directions.
So in Ananias, this...
I could not spell grill though. I'd always spell it grill.
Good lord.
Oh
That's
my
fair.
God.
You were ahead of the times. So the map we had before was this part where it goes kind of around in Ananias, the wording there, I guess. It goes like that. So we got this whole bit here. We actually got a bigger map, I think, didn't we? Bigger part of the map unveiled. Technically. How are we enjoying this map? Because there is a lot of positives that I will definitely have to mention myself. But how's everyone feeling about this map? Anyone want to go first?
I like it a lot. I think that this map is very beautiful. Of
Yeah.
course, from what we saw in the very first update, and then expanding it more westward, we get to see a little bit more of that civilization element to it, which I think is really important because oftentimes they talk about Nios as like it's a realm where people live and are being oppressed and are being eaten, and it's transformed a bit. So you get to see that transformation element where everything looks like there's some civilization elements to it in architecture, but then the deeper you head west, it starts to get more corrupted and more dangerous. So I think that the overall expansion of the map was very successful, and I think more so now in this update, it feels like a very solid map that I can see myself playing every once in a while. The very first update was a little small. It was a little small, but I still loved playing around in there. This is a lot better.
God, there's so much to talk about. Actually, I'm going to I'm just going to play around in the meta while we're talking about the map, because the meta's currently kind of going on. Okay, so you kind of like the general feel and look of the map. Any other comments about the map? I mean, we got loads to talk about, honestly, just generally, like compared to the last one maybe as well. Like, do you have a preference, for example? I mean, it's the same map, but you know, I mean, like the introduction of this.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with everything Kroof said, right? I think the second half of the map, it is larger, and I think it gives us much more of a look at kind of the landscape as a whole, right? We got a little bit of a teaser with the first part that kind of leads us up to the threshold, and then with the second release, we got to see a lot more even. And I love all the details. I think the additional architecture, the areas where you can see more or less corruption, and you can kind of think, you know, oh man, ages and ages and ages ago, before Eparch was here, like, what was this like? How has this changed? Because, like, you know, we learned at least some more stuff, but I won't go into anything specific with this particular patch relating to Nyos and the struggle of the Cryptus. And it's, I mean, it really perfectly encapsulates that kind of haunted feeling of, like, once there was life here, but now it's been kind of overtaken and warped. And while, like, life persists, kind of, it's definitely not flourishing, right? And there's this kind of
Very true.
almost sorrowful pall over the whole area, and you know, these areas of malignancy that seem to almost be like burrowed throughout the land itself. And I think the map really wonderfully communicates that. It feels different than many other areas, maps, designs that we've seen in the game, and the metas themselves are interesting. The fact that it's not a culminating meta like we thought. It's not like Drizzlewood, where it kind of goes beginning to end. They're two separate concurrent metas, so they can both be up at the same time. You can proc them, you can run one or the other.
They can be at the same time, yeah. It's wild. It's really wild, actually. That's the first time.
I know, people
We've
seem
not
to
had that
like
before.
the change, though, and being able to, like, choose what you engage with, and not having it have to be something that is this, like, huge long thing where, like, oh yeah, well, to get to the end of this I have to do the whole thing and it takes me hours and hours. Like, you can kind of jump in, and I like that they're experimenting with it. I like the long metas as well, like Drizzlewood, but I think it's fun to see them kind of experiment and add in different pacings of metas that can kind of fill in that experience if you're somebody who just likes running metas all the time, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this is the first time we've seen them do this with a meta, right? I mean, we'll talk more specifically about the meta maybe in the stages and whatnot of it, rather than, and we'll have general thoughts. But I think generally, I don't think they've actually had different metas going on at the same time of this scale. I think that's new.
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah. It seems slightly different from what we're used to, but I think it fits the map pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's nice to have variety. So
For sure. Fornax, you're gonna say something?
I was gonna. It has a kind of Roman Empire kind of feel to it. A kind of
It's a Colosseum, isn't
fallen,
it?
crumbling civilization. Though it's not just that. It just we're kind of like walking through the ruins of what was, and it's very melancholy to be on the map, to kind of see all the destruction, and the color palette is quite, it's emotionally triggering. So yeah, I think they've done a really good job with the atmosphere and the feel of the map. It really does like convey kind of melancholy of what the kind of lose-lose situation that the place is in.
I mean, that's told by the story of the actual inhabitants, the villagers, right? Because they're in every single event I've been with them in, they're being oppressed. Like, you know, they're either literally being walked around on leashes, or their food has been taken away from them. Something bad is happening to them in every single occasion. And their houses are kind of, you know, they're kind of talking about these things as well. And they're talking about the war, and they're talking about, like, you know, they're having these conversations, which is really cool. Actually, I think that's one of my favorite parts of the map. I think they're just such a good, we don't get to see many people's homes in the game. Like, we don't see that. Like, you barely see that in MMORPGs at all, other than maybe in, like, you know, the home bases of, like, different races, like, more so in Divinity's Reach, right? Like, because you do see housing there. But, like, here you actually see their houses, and there's a tavern somewhere, and there's like, you know, fires and stuff outside. There's like a mini little village of a couple of houses up north somewhere, and you know, it's pretty cool. Like, I really like that, and the design of those creatures as well is just, I think, is some of the best of the cryptids, honestly.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that part of the map, even though, you know, it's just kind of almost the character models as well, I guess.
What I will say when it comes to the second map is, I think the way that the second map was extended in terms of in lore, in story, was not well executed. Because you start up the new story mission and there's no transition, or there's no real narrative, at least that I remember, narrative explanation as to why you can now progress to the other part, when originally the story was being blocked off because of these pylons that was creating this miasma and this mist. And even playing the first culminating meta boss, Ignaxius, Paitha and Arena are there like, oh, we'll have some priori researchers figure out what this is so we can disable it. That dialogue is still live in the main game. So
really?
It feels very strange as to why, in terms of telling a story, it is very disjointed and it does not mesh well. It's not very successful. So it was a little bit weaker in terms of the transition into the extension.
So should they just remove that, do you think, or should you say, or should they just change it and like say it's now been removed, kind of thing? Because people do have to still experience that if they've not done that, right?
I think
so
they can just get rid of it, because it's not a map where you have to progress stage by stage. So you can like freely move throughout the entire map. I think just kind of get rid of it.
I will say that I felt that too so much, Kroof, and I'm really glad you brought it up, because I was sort of confused at first. I was like, oh wait, they want me to do events? Oh, but just like bide time here until they figure something out, and then I'll go to the other side of the map, or I guess I could technically cross over to the other side of the map, or it, to me, within the context of us like setting foot in a world and a realm that has never been explored, as far as we know, in this way. To me, that's a huge part of the narrative movement, right? Like the wonder of stepping foot, the terror in certain regards into the unknown. And so I totally agree. I think we kind of miss a really innate and natural part of the story beat here with exploring Nyos, where rather than like having you even do that first do events kind of prompt, I almost would have rather just had, you know, kind of like a little, like several shorter little quest kind of things where we were kind of progressing through and they were just telling us what they had learned in the time or something, you know, like, or we made these discoveries, we pushed forward thanks to your efforts in getting, you know, dealing with Ignaxius, because theoretically at that point you would assume people have done the meta, they've had the prompts too, so like, you know, you could say this is kind of what we see and we've learned more about this, and they could give us some information about the history and things, and then we could end up at that threshold and actually have something like a cutscene, you know, cinematic or something like that that would kind of reveal the way ahead and like, you know, reveal to you more of the mysteries of Nyos, because I feel like that was one thing that was missing to really kind of bridge it all together. And the map itself is so gorgeous that I would have liked to have seen more of the actual story beats and like the quest journal kind of point us to what had been lost there, what they don't even know was lost there, because it's been, you know, thousands and thousands of years, or what guesses are as to some of these places, or even just something filling us a little bit more even in on the people and, you know, the cryptists and their hierarchies and structures. Not that it had to be like a big thing, like a big long thing, but even just kind of a little bit more in there to play into that element of discovering and setting foot in a realm that's hostile and unknown to us, and that has culture and society and, you know, this oppression that's been happening, that we haven't been witness to. And of course, like if you do a lot of the events, you'll get some of that, but it felt like it needed a little more support from the story, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they've kind of missed a trick because this is the realm of dreams, right? And it would be interesting from my point of view if, as we were going around and we were like walking through the desolation of this civilization, that there were echoes of what was there. They could be like dream states playing out of transparent characters going through their lives. So we get little glimpses of what they've lost, so we can understand where they are. But I feel like narratively, I feel like narratively in terms of it all, it's been these first 2 episodes have just been quite clip notes version. Top notes only.
Oh, you went there in this. You went there in this episode. You went there in this episode. It's okay. You can talk generally about it. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. There is no spoilers. There is no spoilers. That's okay.
Yeah. And I feel like it's such a missed opportunity because I feel like they've set up such a rich society with the cryptos, such an interesting culture, such an opportunity, and I feel like they just haven't taken advantage of the hard work of the writers and bringing it into life in game.
Fair. Absolutely. Okay. The story stuff is going to be next week. There is definitely a lot of thoughts from all of us on that. Not necessarily about whether or not the actual story is good, but about what is going on and how they're doing it in the cadence that they are trying to kind of put out there, and I'm not sure it's working. I feel like Josh also hinted at that in the blog post about how they're learning so much from this expansion. I think it's a shame that this is the expansion where they're learning all of this, because I feel like there's so much awesome story to be told, and it's like the Wizard's Tower and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, I wish it wasn't this one that was the one which was kind of the guinea pig kind of it is what it is, doesn't really matter now. Okay,
I mean, I will say this, like, we'll go more into actual specifics and story stuff next week, but I have really enjoyed the narrative and context of this expansion, and I think that even with the amount that we have, I still think there were some really beautiful examples of writing in this recent release. I think there were some amazing little dialogue exchanges and tidbits, and I mean, the realm itself is so rich with all kinds of things that get my imagination going, and how life is different here, so radically different than it is with the other kind of organic life that we're familiar with in the races and people and the more material world as we know it. There's so much that has been really phenomenal about the storytelling with Secrets of the Obscure. When we get to the nitty gritty of pacing, amount, those sorts of things, that's of course where I think, yes, like as they keep refining this sort of year by year release, there's some discussion to be had about how they pace it out, where they kind of bulk things out, how they give more satisfaction in delivering that story as a throughput throughout the year. But like, there was still a lot of really good stuff in this, and the map and things, are really engaging and interesting in many facets. It's tough though, like you were saying, when you have something that really could have bet, like the whole thing could just be a whole massive story that I would have played for like 3 expansions, because it's so good. Like, just have the first whole expansion be Wizard's Tower, the second expansion be Demon, the third, like, it could have totally been something like that. And it's just a testament to the imagination of this expansion.
Oh, that kind of makes me... I'm not gonna try not to go into this too much, but that does make me like a little sad that we aren't really going to be treating Nios with like expansion worthy attention, because this is such a complex realm with like a lineage of a family with Eparch and Paetha and Ceres and the houses. There's so much that kind of needs to be established and like really tended to, and I think they're doing, in all honesty, for how much time they're able to in these quarterly updates, I think they're doing a good job. I think for what the story is of the realm, I would love to have seen like an entire expansion really dedicated to it.
I think there's been enough more than they can chew with this.
But I still want to say that I am actually enjoying it so much that I do want more. I think that's a good indicator.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the hype around, we were talking about, we'll keep on the map, but we were talking about different things that have been kind of a triumph in this update as well, because there's more. I don't think there's anything inherently bad about this, if you want to say bad as a word, because I don't think there's anything bad in the game, but like, you know, there is a lot of good stuff. Okay, so let's think about the map again. What else? Events. That's what I want to talk about. Events. I think I will go out to say that this map has probably got some of the best, most varied events I've seen in any of the maps in the game. I'm like,
It was a good mix.
I love the mix of them. Like, there are some not some of my favorite events in the game, but like the variety of events, like this one I'm about to go over to now is wicked. Like, you have to, so mini spoiler if you don't want to know about the events and stuff, like switch off now. Like, you get this concoction from this chemical engineer guy who's wicked, by the way. Like, his voice is like, I was literally saying as we went into the map, I was like, I wish we had some more nerdy scientific Asuras around doing stuff, like just with really nerdy voices, because I feel like we don't get enough of them. And then there's this guy sitting there in this event, and you have to get these concoctions off him so you can destroy these clusters on these whatever the hell they're called, and you just fire these things, you CC the bar, and then you kill them with your sky scale, and that's how you do the event. But then there's a champion after. It's so good.
This one made me so mad.
This event?
'Cause it was bugged. It was bugged
Oh,
the first
no.
day. And I also think like the way that the targeting is, it's very clunky. I actually
think it's great. I think it works pretty well.
I did not have a good experience with it, and with the champion as well afterwards, that I just stopped doing the event because I started to not have fun.
What? How? This is not that.
This was the one event.
This
Was the one event where it was bugged because you would throw it, and if it didn't land, it would turn whatever you were throwing into cabbages, which you could then pick up again, and it would just change your special action key. So it was giving you the wrong item, but the cabbages still worked. It was weird.
Well,
It was very strange.
It's also got the best sound effects in the game. Listen to this on the stream.
I muted the stream, but I'll take your word for it.
Oh, that's
Stirring
very
mac and
mukbang.
cheese.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
wow.
it's very squibbly.
Wow.
There's some really
Mac and
lovely.
cheesy.
This expansion has had. I used to be like a sound guy for short movies and stuff and short film. That's what I specialized in university. And the sound, and this is why I always bang out about the sound. Like when I was at the ArenaNet party, I was talking to those audio boys for ages because I love their work. They're so good, and what they do, oh my god, it's just the best. And I really need to know how they made that sound. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, like, you know, there's many ways you can make it, but this is.
Squishy.
Squishy.
I don't
It's
know.
just got so. It's just really good. I know it's just like the skill involved in creating a sound from something which is completely unrelated to what this would be. Is just like, it takes a lot of imagination. There's a lot of creativity in that, and it's not even just what you use, it's then how you do it, how you record it. Do you like the different kind of levels, thinking about bass and mid and just like all these different things they have to think about. It's so cool. So yeah, big props on the audio design as per usual, and the music and everything as per usual. But anyway, the events, sorry. I got a bit keen there of audio.
I think the events are also a great way for them to tell the story of whatever zone you're in. And this one has really good dialogue. I think because I'm so much more vigilant about picking up story for Nios that I'm really taking the time to listen to the dialogue that plays during these events. And I'm playing these events multiple times. And you start to get a sense of what they've been talking about with Pathos starting to kind of find the cryptids that are more loyal to her, and the cause of creating a free Nios, and also doing some espionage. And I think the overall event variation and also the lore attached to them, it's made it a pretty satisfactory and enjoyable second half, or I guess 2/3 of the entire map. So it's been fun.
I'm doing a mini event here which I've not seen yet, and this is the villagers. We were talking about the villagers before, so these are all frightened cryptists and stuff. I've not done this one yet, and this dialogue is so good. It says, "Who are you, noisy one? Why can't one be quiet? We must hide from them." And then some are like, I don't want to hide. I want to fight. And so they're really kind of stuck between these kind of two different ways of being in this map and just the world. It's like, yeah, interesting.
Septic Quaggan.
Right.
This is. What should we do? Let's turn a Quaggan inside out. Yeah.
It's kind of what they did.
God.
It's kind of what they did. That's
They are
kind of
like
gross.
a horrifying inside-out meatball Quaggan Choya hybrid. It's a. They amuse me. They amuse me, but they are a little bit disturbing, especially when you get real close in there.
I
I want
love
to protect
these little
them,
ones.
but I don't want them to touch me at all. Like, stay 6
I
feet.
don't know. I
social
want one as a
distance.
pet. I actually think this should have been the like. I mean, that sounds awful. I would kind of want one as like a mini running around with me. I really want one.
Septic Quaggan tree confirmed for the
Wow,
next
my
My
God.
God.
That's the next
like
expansion,
rotting on the
actually.
vine. Oh my god, oh my god. I'm just glad that there is no smell associated with any of what is going on here, because Jesus.
Oh wait, you wait for the future.
yeah,
Remember
yeah.
those scratch and sniff things they're gonna have in games? Haven't they
We
got
can
that?
only hope. We can only hope that the realm of dreams is just odorless. You know that
Hopefully.
you can't perceive the things in the realm of dreams unless you have the sensitivity to emotions
Amazing.
that the cryptids do. So otherwise, there's no rotting meat smell to be found. You know. Yeah.
Very sad about
I'll
that.
take your word for it. Bring on the anosmia. Yeah. Shit.
I'll go and try and see if I can find the houses as well. They're killing the brave cryptids. Good lord, stop it. But yeah, there's another
You
one of these
smack
events.
those tentacles. Bad tentacle. Bad tentacle.
Yeah, bad
puppy.
tentacle, go away. Naughty, you killed my friend. But there's more, even more events with the villagers. I feel like there's a lot of events. I know there's at least 3 now. There's at least 3.
Now, I did see in chat a mention a little bit talking about Lelling, I think, was talking about the fact that maybe they had felt a little bit underwhelmed by perhaps like the culminating fights or bosses of either side of the maps with the metas. And you know, it's interesting because I did enjoy you know, Ignaxius, I think it's a solid fight. Like there are, you know, you've got some like a good set of different mechanics that you kind of execute. It's an interesting locale as a kind of villainous figure. You know, I
Oh, the
think
last boss
Ignaxius-
of the first meta in this map?
Yes, I think
Oh, I
it's
think
memorable.
it's really good. I love that fight. I think it's
Yeah, yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I got wrecked
like,
the first time. It was
This
hilarious.
second one that we got with the like draconic-esque demon, I love the area I love that like arena. It's so cool. The like gladiatory arena almost, right? And you
yeah.
know, there's a couple of phases where you kind of split or go up, or you burn some things down below. I do think maybe it could have been a little more memorable, or in regards to like, I don't know. I need to do the meta a few more times. I've barely got into it and just done it a few loops.
It isn't
like,
like really that complicated or anything. I don't think it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. But like one thing I do like is that there is 2 phases of that, and with the 25% when it's left, it's a different thing that happens. It's not like you go up. So I'm glad they do that. I do think that they need to move away from the constant to and froing of like the same phase over and over again, because that really does bore me. But like I don't think it's supposed to be this really epic kind of like ridiculous battle, even though it is kind of. I think, you know, there's gonna be that final meta which is just gonna, I mean, you know, I'll probably end up eating my hat for this, but like, you know, I feel like that's going to be something which we'll see in the last update of this expansion. You're going to see a little bit more of a... I would like to actually see if things evolve a little bit and they actually connect a little bit more. They do something where it's like you need to have done both of these to progress the last one in a way, because they do seem to happen at the similar times, and I don't know if that's just fluky, because I think some people still have to start it and whatnot, right? So I don't know. It's interesting. There's so much
I
potential.
feel like this is just like a regional event chain finale rather than what we would traditionally think of like a meta, like you'd get in Auric Basin or something like that, or on Dragon's Stand, where everything is kind of and I think that we will get something hopefully with the last installment of this expansion. We will get a big finish with the big bad that has been lined up. It has to be Epark, I think. I really hope it is anyway. The last big bad has to be him, the last domino to fall.
I mean, they did that with Ender Dragons as well, right? So it's like, it would make sense. Although that was its own map, and it was very much a meta in the map in its own, specifically. It's a bit different, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, I thought the final boss event for this section of the map, Nabelog, was perfectly okay. I did like how it felt a little bit more dangerous to play even at ranged. Oftentimes with these meta events, if you stay at ranged, you can kind of avoid most attacks, but because it's such a large theater, a lot of the attacks are branching out into the larger distances. So even if I was playing at ranged, you still have to be very careful of if you get knocked down, then you're gonna get hit by a bunch of conditions. So there were some elements that I liked in terms of just keeping it a bit more attention grabbing, no matter what playstyle you have. Other than that, it was a wyvern boss. We have a lot of those in Guild Wars 2.
That's right.
And with Cryptus especially, I would have maybe liked it to have been a different model that we fought, just to make it a little bit more bespoke to what the Cryptus are, and what the enemy of the Cryptus or like the big bad is. But I think it was I think it was perfectly good and entertaining. It is definitely a meta or a part of a final boss that I will play a lot more of. I've already played it like 4 or 5 times, and it's a good fight.
It is, and it's not too complicated and difficult to understand. I feel like we talked about this last week, I think, as well, and even the last one was just like, why do we still have dragons? Like, I think you said this, Fornax, actually. Like, it feels odd to have these dragons in here when we don't have dragons. Was it you who said this last week, Fornax? I can't remember.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I feel yeah.
So we've got, what I would have liked to have seen is more of the mind games of Epark, and this boss be something like a shadow of Febe. So Febe we know was related to Pather. She revered him. We learned that in the previous story, and it was said that his horns. He was so tall that his horns touched the ceiling of that cathedral, the Temple of Febe. So just imagine Epark summoning a shadow of someone she loves, and then she would have to kind of fight that, and we would be at her side, and it could have more emotional impact. It would be more thematic, and they've got all this fantastic, brilliant lore that they've set up, and I wish that we got to interact with it more and a bit more of a Machiavellian type, because I want Epark to be this great puppet master, this true villain, but it feels we just haven't interacted with him enough. It actually reminds me of World of Warcraft when they did the Burning Crusade expansion, and they had like the last boss was the Black Temple, and it was Malfurion's brother, and we didn't see him. He was this monster on a hill that we really didn't get to interact with, so we didn't build up all the hate that we would, right? And they really did a course reversal when they did the Ice Crown, and they did Arthas, because Arthas was always there. He was a looming figure. He would appear in cutscenes. He would appear in dungeons and raids, and you really, by the end of it, you just wanted to kill this guy. He was such a
that's been set up. That's one of the best ever enemies in anything ever. Like Arthas is just like the pinnacle, like the one of the best, because that guy has been involved in things for years, for so longer than some people have been alive. Like, well, I mean, obviously that goes to say like babies, but like, I'm talking about like people in their 20s and like teens and stuff. This shit's been going on since Warcraft. And like,
Proof, was that you being a baby? Were you like, I'm Proof, I'm baby? That's what I was. All right, thank you. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Y'all
I
watch
didn't
the
play
Rugrats?
Warcraft. I didn't have that investment. So they did such a great job in story, in game, to make this guy a threat. And it's like with Pather, we've got her whispering nothings and craziness into our ear all the way through the expansion. So when we finally meet her, we're invested. We're I was going to say something about testicles, but no, we want to be.
You already did.
There.
You just
sorry.
did.
Yeah. It was much worse what I
We're
didn't say. You
invested.
should be
Dare I
careful.
say, we're aroused. If we're both.
Yeah. Well, I was going to.
We started off with horniness, so I don't know if it's calmed down since
Yeah.
then.
But yeah, so I'm kind of sad that we don't
my
have
clients
him
ever
as
watch
like
this
a
podcast.
looming figure.
Sorry.
I do. No, I think you bring up a really great point because I feel as though there are two reasons we haven't seen him. One, there is some kind of more direct reveal about him, like, oh, actually, he's the exact same race as, what's his name, is Garin, or
He's a dwarf.
oh, he, like, either there's some kind of reveal about him that they are trying to, like, keep as mysterious as possible, or it's just that, like, they wanted him to be this, like, looming presence, but to like not actually have you confront him until the very end or something, right? But I do agree in that, considering that we only have one major hunk left before this expansion is done, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more depth to this middle portion of the narrative. Again, this is kind of what we were talking about with some of the greater critiques about balance of narrative over the course of a year-long cycle. But it does feel like here we have missed a little bit of the impact of and threat of Eparch in his own domain. Because like this second boss is cool and I like the arena and everything else, but like we were talking about, we don't really know why these draconic entities that look so different than other demonic entities exist here. We don't necessarily know what role. I couldn't tell you. I need to go through and play more of the meta, but I couldn't tell you what that dragon at the end of the second meta, like if they're a villain, if they're one of Eparch's generals, I assume, or if they're just like an angry dragon that's just mad that you're there, or
Ricker, look at the chat. Epoch is E.
Oh, Eparch is E. Oh, I love that. Hilarious.
Like it.
But it's one of those things where I agree with you. I think that especially for what is the culmination or the second half of a map zone, I would have liked to see something with a bit more narrative weight behind it, like you were kind of mentioning, Fornax, whether that's something like, yeah, a shadow or of one of the entities, or a twisted, you know, we get to see the corruption affecting the cryptis, or maybe Eparch even, this would have been really interesting, like maybe we get something where Eparch threatens a bunch of the cryptists that we have been kind of rallying, and out of fear, like he's consuming them, or he's threatening to consume them, or some aspect of him is kind of like doing this, or the queen, because we get stuff. I won't say anything else. Like maybe she's the one perpetrating this, and like the echo of it is that, you know, Eparch is the one who started this kind of cannibalism of sorts in the realm. And so like we see them all with this threat, some of them being devoured, and then they like turn on us, or they become some kind of horrific breacher, nightmare beast or something. Like it would have been really interesting to, I think, just have a little bit more to give weight to the monstrosity of Eparch, because we know he's bad. We see that he's persecuted people. He's obviously been launching a lot of attacks. But a big thing that I think is relevant is the fact that many players from Guild Wars 1 are very familiar with demons, because there were entire kind of arcs devoted to that. But for any players like myself who have only played, I mean, I went back and played some Guild Wars 1, but have only played Guild Wars 2 and beyond, demons have been much less of a presence until very recently, right? So I think there's a bit of a gap there in, you know, reinforcing some of this, as well as giving Eparch a more well-rounded kind of villainous presence, as opposed to just like a name that keeps getting dropped sort of thing. But
yeah, true.
I do want to clarify though before we get, so I think that we have got a huge amount of content for our buck. I think we've got a massive, even if we didn't get any Naos content, I think for $20 what we got with the tower and the archipelago and that narrative was fantastic.
25.
So this is how much?
25.
25. Okay.
It's more of tax.
I think. Well, okay, I stand corrected. But I think we got a huge amount of bang for our buck. I really did. So this is not a. This is more talking about what I want as a player rather than as a kind of quantitative quality control exercise. This is what I would like to see as a daddy give me a pony type person. So
I think that does bring up a good future conversation though, which is definitely worth having. If like. You know, they have an idea of always wanting this game to be very accessible, not having a subscription, everything else. But it would be very interesting if you could go into some alternate universe or even into the Wizard's Tower and they did some fractal of what Guild Wars 2 would have looked like with a subscription. And you think about, you know, would it even exist or would it be in a place where they could literally do what you said? Like, you know, spend so much time on these things, have more content because they've got even more staff, more resources. And this is what it comes down to, like, right? Because there is that whole idea that because they don't have as many people spending money on the game and they're not huge, they're not a AAA studio, like, they will be limitations. But it's still one of the biggest MMORPGs in the, you know, at least in, like, the Western world, right? I'm not sure how big it's in
this
China
part of the Milky Way. Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
this is one of the top in the Milky Way, definitely.
There's Elder Scrolls Online, there's Guild Wars 2, there's World of Warcraft, there is Final Fantasy 14, obviously, and then there's things like, you know, I mean, like Warframe and stuff, which kind of come after that. But like, they're not. I mean, they're pretty big, obviously, but I mean, you know, Guild Wars 2 is well in there, and it's not a AAA studio compared to the others. They're all AAA.
True.
ZeniMax is AAA because it's just, you know, Bethesda, Microsoft, right? Like they've got infinite amount of money. I mean, you know, Blizzard as well now. They're both. Isn't that interesting? ZeniMax and Blizzard under like Microsoft. Wow, it's actually ridiculous. No pun intended there. So where were we? We were talking about map. It's actually like, you know, Microsoft is kind of going a little bit like a monopoly going down here, so be careful about it.
The map, we were talking about some of the narrative pacing, but one thing that we haven't talked at all about are the new weapons.
New weapons! I was just
We are going to do that. Also, NCSoft is a publisher, not a game dev studio. Well, I mean, they are, but they publish Guild Wars 2. There's a big difference. Okay, so...
And yes, one thing that was mentioned earlier in stream, which I think was just like lost in translation, I think Box had mentioned like, oh, you need to own the expansion to get the weapons. I believe they were referring to the actual new weapons that released with this patch. And yes, you do need to own Secrets of the Obscure to get access to the new profession weapons.
You need to get through that in the story anyway, the first part, right?
Yes, so you can go through the story for the first part, or I think it's a little bit after the first part, or you can choose to go through World versus World and then just purchase all of them there, which is a little like off the beaten path, but it's an option for players if you don't want to actually do the story to unlock it.
I mean, it's just because like you want to, it's because of your mode, right? If you don't like PvE, then you can just do it in World versus World, and PvP is just unlocked anyway. You don't need to do anything. So,
which I thought was, in terms of the acquisition, when you talked about the first thing that we did when you logged in, I actually was going to go for the weapons because I was like, oh, how did they implement them? Is this like automatically given? What's the tea? And then I realized, oh, you actually have to complete an achievement
How did you know
to
that
unlock
though?
it.
How did you know that? Because I did not know that and it actually pissed me off.
Oh, I looked at the weapons. Like I was on Guardians at pistol, and then the bottom it had red text saying complete Astral Ward Arsenal achievement to unlock.
I did not see that. And I think that's a little bit silly.
I think the way in which, if they are adding weapons to the professions for the future of, you know, gameplay additions, and also in the way in which it was implemented to the story, this is where I'm like, this is kind of where class trainers would just be elite, because it'd be something everyone would know where to go to. And you wouldn't necessarily have to do the main story unless it was a part of a quest line that you had to do.
I like that it's tied to that, though.
To the quest trainer, or the class trainer to kind of learn and unlock it.
I still think it's a really good marketing idea to have it tied to the expansion. I know that might bring a little bit of I am kind of torn between it because I'm like, oh, access, but also they need to earn money and actually exist.
It's not necessarily about access. I think it's in terms of just the best way for them to create new content and, you know,
I mean, it kind of is about access because
themselves.
you have to pay, right? So,
Well, it's no different than
that's
elite
access.
specs. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Okay, good. Sorry, I don't need to feel bad about that. Okay, good. Thank you. Well done, Griff. Good job. Appreciate it.
And in fact, it's maybe a little bit less than elite specs because it is just one weapon.
Exactly. Yeah.
But in terms of the actual acquisition of it, I thought it wasn't bad. You know, it made sense, but I would not have minded if there was another way.
I think there's a
general way.
story there that they're missing out on these weapons and unlocking them. I think they're really, you know, it was like you said, you know, when we got that, because I remember we talked about Path of Fire, right, and how we had those first introductions to some of the people that we might be able to talk to, and there was that, we played the beta and it was in Amnoon, and there's that event where you see the Holosmith, and I feel like a lot of us thought we were going to be talking to them to unlock it and stuff. And that never happened. It was just an event. And it was like, oh, well, you can talk to this person. And then you kind of have to do these things for them. And it's like, well, I guess you just do hero points. But that's just the same thing as normal. It would be cool to have a little story around it. Especially if, like, the weapon was... I know it's a lot of work, though. They've already got so much work. It's, like, another thing. But anyway.
No, you make a fair point because even World of Warcraft, it leans very heavily into the archetypes of each of its professions, each of its classes. I mean, to the point where they have order halls and specific characters, and they form a huge part of the narrative. And if you look at 14, oh my God, I mean, there's entire massive storylines for each of the professions or jobs that they do, and they're amazing. They're some of the best and darkest and weirdest content that you can play. Good God, the Dark Knight stuff is just wow. But
the Dark Knight is also a standout amidst some of the others that are a little more lackluster. But that one is so good.
You saw the other ones? Dark Knight. That's juicy.
It is. I would love that. I would love for us to have some sort of feeling of connection and sort of kinship with our professions that we have, and for us to interact with characters who kind of embody the kind of archetypes of the professions. And it's like identity is hugely important, isn't it? So yeah, I'd like that. But
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's only so many balls that they can play with, and great. So, you know, too many balls.
We
Never
went there,
enough
you got
time.
there again. You did get there
Thank
in the
you.
end, so you know.
I'm working on it.
Achievement unlocked.
You don't need to work that hard.
Yeah,
You're working hard enough. I think you can
Just-
take another swing at it.
just enough.
So which weapon did everyone go for? Did they just go to their main class specifically straight away, or did you go to anything else, or
I was on my Guardian, so I just went for the pistols.
going for the pistols? You
I
having
unlocked
fun with
those
that?
pistols. No, okay. I need to vent a little
No.
bit. Hold on. I need to vent a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I was on the Guardian, got the
God.
pistols. I saw all the new art. It was beautiful. It was delicious. I was like, I love me some new art for my skills. And then I started firing the pistols, and I was like, oh, the sound effects, they're solidified, they're different, they're finalized. Beautiful. And then I saw this lovely little symbol on my hotbar, and it's a triangular symbol with a flame icon
That's
in the
right.
center of it. And I was like, that's beautiful. I wonder how it's gonna look in game. They did not add a new symbol for this, which is not up to the standards that I expect. If I'm being completely harsh, maybe
The
lightly
symbol
harsh.
for
harsh.
what? Can you clarify?
For Guardian symbols. You have symbol
doesn't have the
swiftness,
different
great
sign
sword
on the
symbol. They
floor.
all have.
I see.
When you use them, they all have a unique design. Especially the expansion symbols were very high quality. The Heart of Thorns longbow symbol had like this cool triangular circle pattern. The Firebrand one with the axe was like revered for being the most like visual, like, oh, that's a beautiful symbol. So I was really excited to see what they were gonna do. And it's a very small version, a miniature version of the great sword symbol, which is just like the spiky things.
Look at that on the axe. That symbol when it spins in the
and-
triangle. Oh, so good.
And to me, that's not finished. It's not visually there, and it's not what I was expecting for a new product in the age of 2024. So it might be minor, but it was something that I was actually very, like, oh, it's like a very obvious thing that you kind of expect that isn't there.
It's not actually.
So.
It's very similar to the Great Sword. I think it's less.
It is the exact.
Is it literally the same one?
It is the exact one, but just small.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh dear.
But the audio is new. The audio is new. Like everything is new. The art, the audio, but the visual is just not new. So I was like, hopefully sometime they actually will update that to have a unique new symbol.
I like
That
the
would be nice.
projectiles of the pistol though, when they actually, you can actually aim at someone. Actually, maybe not. That did not look good. Yeah, the projectile. Oh no, because I've got a different weapon on, so it doesn't actually do that. But like, I am having fun with that pistol. It's the second weapon I actually
It's
tried. I'm trying a pistol offhand. Pistol torch axe shield build, which is very fun. And I did try the short bow on engineer, which I'm very confused about. I actually don't like it as much as it was before.
Oh, the short bow, really?
Yeah,
Really?
I actually preferred it before. Yeah, it was more fun.
I think at least the old version had a little bit more thought
It had a much
behind
more
how
punch.
you
Yeah, it's just
interact with it.
It's really simple and just feels really basic and not really. I don't know. I think they it's more maybe a little bit more intuitive. I think like it's just not as.
It's kind of like Necro Staff. It's just kind of like a mark.
Now
Yeah.
it feels more like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely got more play. It's got a hell of a lot more play to it, and I feel like I need to play around with it a bit more. But it is just kind of like I'll just nip onto it for a second. The stun is really good, and then the different animations and stuff. And actually, that art is fairly original, I think. So they actually did the art pretty well, but I feel like because every single thing is like, an AoE other than the first ability, they kind of need to. And I like that, there's different effects and stuff that come out from each ability, but I feel like it is still. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where this weapon fits. I mean, sure, it's a support weapon, but like, you've just got better weapons, maybe. I don't know. Because you've got like a shield on your offhand and it gives protection to everyone. And I'm like, okay, I guess.
You get protection out of this. Just
Yeah, on the fourth skill.
There's a little bit of complexity with the order in which you fire off your arrows. So there's that. I think if they just buff up the numbers a bit, make it a bit punchier,
The might
feel
is
better.
good. The might is good on it. I used it with a scrapper yesterday. It's pretty fun.
What the heck? Short bow.
Yeah. But it's fun. I've made the reason why I think is because I actually made Chuka and Chumpawat for it. So I'm like, I've got Chuka and Chumpawat on my energy here, and actually didn't dye this for this reason, and put it on him, and I'm like, oh, it's the same color scheme. That's kind of fluky. Oh, anyway.
But Rook and Fornax, have you been able to venture off and play any of the new weapons, or have you seen something that you're like, oh, the finalized art on that is actually really good? Has anything like been a surprise, or you want to go and one that you're kind of like looking forward to?
I kind of feel like I've been caught having not done my homework because
Interesting.
So here's how I play games. I go to a website that tells me the meta I need to play for what I need to do in game, and then I do that. And that's it.
Fair. That's fair. That's
Because
how you enjoy it. Yeah.
because I'm a basic bitch who likes story. So, yeah, I mean, I do raid. I actually raid. I actually tanked demos successfully, so I can like do
nice.
this shit right, without getting yeeted off the platform even. Although I did get like sucked down to the bottom, but that was definitely not my fault.
It's a rite of
Definitely.
No, yeah, don't
When
worry
you're
about it, don't
playing
worry about
that kind of content in I think most people probably do something very similar. Like they'll go and play the meta, like.
And
Honest-
yeah, but
I'm the same. Oh yeah, no worries.
I haven't even unlocked them. I mean, I will at some point. I've got everything.
have.
I've got
You've
one of every
done the
flavor.
story.
You did the story.
You've done the
unlocked
story.
it.
Yeah, you
I've
get
done
to
this-
do the story.
That's all you need
Oh,
to do.
okay. Hooray!
Yeah. Sorry,
You're like, I have them.
Woo!
I will say,
Honestly,
Phonax, as a
sorry.
ranger main, the maces do seem to be pretty good, so they might pop up into some meta builds that you might try.
Okay,
And also
okay.
the art for the skills are some of my favorite. The mace second ability is called Flourish, and the skill art that they did for it is so beautiful.
It is
It's like,
good.
it's what I wanted for Druid.
I'll have to check it out. Oh, I will. So, I mean, I've got a lot of legendary weapons. I think I've got the legendary mace. So I will certainly get. I'm basically just trying to collect all the legendary so I can do as much fashion mods as I like without having to like spend any money. So yeah, I'm working on it. But yeah, I will certainly check it out. Thank you very much. for the
Isn't that
recommendation.
interesting? That's such a good point. Look at this. Look at the animations in even just the icon art. It's actually pretty flippin' amazing.
Yeah. I'm
It's
seeing it like finalized.
really
and
good.
like, this is
mean-
a worthy addition for expansions that can kind of hold their own as opposed to elite specializations. Like I felt a good amount of newness and excitement. Like, oh, I have new tools to play around with.
Yes, and I am aware stream and also people watching that I do have the Orion Legendary as well, which makes it look even cooler. But like, you know, I'll take
but
that
I
off
mean,
in a second.
You can see the like nature effects that are unique to it. And I agree. I think that like the animations and stuff look great. And don't feel bad for Fornax. The reason I didn't speak up immediately was because I too have not tried any of them. So, but I do the same thing, right? I'm like, I look up whatever specific builds are going to be like best for what I'm doing, and then I usually just put those on, unless I'm doing a role-playing character or something, and then I just pick stuff based off of I think they'd have a bow, and I like when they do a flip, and like that's my
Totally
choice.
fair. Totally
You know,
fair.
like, so I'm not always the kind of person that's like in there theory crafting, doing all kinds of builds, trying to like, you know, figure out like Boots and Kroof are, right? Like, but that's just who we are. We're just different in those regards as players. So I haven't gotten to do a bunch with these, but I am really pleased and I feel more incentivized to do something with them, seeing that, you know, the vast majority of them do have like, you know, the unique animations and other things that make them feel distinctive, add a different flair or flavor to your character, as well as giving you different possibilities. And I've heard good things. I mean, I see in chat people talking about the staff, is it warrior staff? I see people talking as well. I've heard people talking about with Mesmer, the addition there, and the fact, is it Mesmer rifle? Is that what it is? I think. Yeah.
Mesmer rifle is so fun.
And that Mesmer rifle is like really solid and opens up even more possibilities with that kind of healing stuff. So I'm really interested in those, and I think there were some good additions here for sure. Now, little details like Kroof pointed out, where like, yeah, if you're going to do these in place of other expansion features, then I do think you need to pay attention to those, or having the unique sigils, or making sure that all the classes do get something that's a little visually interesting, or that it's kind of cool to what's added. I do think that's important. So, yeah.
Excellent. I'm just going to jump onto... I keep forgetting that my legendaries are going to work across so many different things. I'm like, oh yeah, I've got a legendary rifle. I forgot about that. I can use it on my Mesmer, which is really odd
And the
now.
Mesmer art is like a bunch of flowers. It's so pretty.
Just have a look.
Just the visual element. I think on top of like meta, on top of meta, it changes all the time. So I haven't really been entrenched in like, what is the best thing to play? Haven't cared about that for like some time. It's more so just
same.
like, how does it look? How does it inform the class? How does it kind of cater to a role play feel element as well?
Absolutely. I'm
I
way
think
beyond
they did a
caring about
good
that
job.
kind of thing. Like the content that I play, like the way I play games now is more about the fun I want to have, not doing the best performance. It really just depends. Like, you know, if I wanted to PvP, I might follow the meta and like really go up in ranks, but just don't care about the crap anymore.
I pay more attention when I might inconvenience other people. So if I'm doing something that's in a group content, I don't want to, I mean, I am a bit, please carry me, I'm a bit daft, but I'm literally genetically, I had my 23andMe done and it says, gets lost easily, a bit dyspraxic. So yeah, fuck you. But yes, it's true.
What? Why, we just went into a whole ray of emotion just now. What happened?
Why me, God? But I don't want to inconvenience people, right? So I try to make sure that I've got the right gear, I know what I'm doing, I've got an idea of my role, I've done my homework, right? But if you're playing by yourself, it's the rule of cool and what you feel comfortable with. And most of the time when I'm on my own, I just don't want to be like, I played Elementalist for like 3 years as my main. I am tired of being on the floor. So I like tanky survivable builds. I don't care if I have to bore the thing to death. So that's kind of my vibe. But yeah, you do you, boo.
I really need to play this weapon more. And I love that,
It's
by
really
the
good.
way.
I was doing strikes, rifle, chrono heal. It's really fun.
Really?
You can spam out so many phantasms and clones and upkeep alacrity, like it's just like not even a job.
I really forgot about that whole like kind of casting barrier from afar. Like that's really fun. That's awesome. Like
And then if you detonate the 3, it's a heal. So you can like let it sit for boons, or you can choose to go for the heal. There's a lot of interest with some of these weapons.
That is cool. See, that makes me sad because then I'm like with shortbow, like it's a support weapon and this is a rifle. This is very, very unique and very like. I'm not saying the shortbow is awful because it's going to have some. I think I feel like this is going to take a little bit of time working it out, but this is just so fun to just even play, like to just use, like without even thinking about what it does. It's just fun to look at, everyone. And at the end of the day, sometimes that's just what I need. Like sometimes I just need that. Okay.
I need it.
I do need it. Like I'm just at that point in my life where I just need things to look good. What else was there?
That's why I spent 3 years on the floor, because Mesmer looked. Because the Elementalist is beautiful. All the fire effects. It was the 2 Scepter 2 with the bird that like sold me. You know, the Phoenix.
That's right.
And
the turtle. What about the turtle?
Much.
The turtle was the best one.
Catalyst turtle. Yeah.
The catalyst turtle. Amazing.
Harold, that
pistols.
kind of struck me in the heart there, mate. That was just like a critical hit.
I don't mean to go back on my words on the last podcast where we interviewed the balance developers and
Oh no,
the
we're going to
systems
tell
team.
him. We're going to tell him.
I really liked Elementalist when I was playing it in the beta, but for some reason playing it live, I do not.
You don't like it? Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's just not. I think it's a numbers issue, or maybe it's the way I was.
Oh,
geared.
I mean, if it's that, then it's not. It's
and
not
I also just think like the bullet mechanic is. I don't know. It was something changed in between me playing it originally and then me playing it now. Something changed.
Just main hand, right?
Yeah, it's just main hand.
Just main hand. Okay.
But I was playing in an open world too, and I was like kind of struggling to kill things, and also like it's a weird thing because like the way in which the mechanic works, you think there's a lot of choice where you depending on the first bullet that you fire, it will augment the next one that you do, but you kind of just go into, okay, so for fire, air, and earth, you hit skill 2 first and then you hit skill 3. It's a little formulaic in that matter. So I think if the choices were a little bit more interesting or powerful, you might have that flow of, oh, I can actually choose which one and kind of get into that mindset rather than just a formula. But it was okay, It ended up not being my most liked one, but it's okay.
There's some fun kind of abilities on this, like some different ones, like this second ability on Showering Stone, where you got the bleeding and the cripple. Like the animation, I kind of like because it kind of spreads out to all these different enemies. That's pretty cool.
I do want to try the warrior staff, if only for some nipple cosplay, like they did.
What? What?
Yes.
For some nipple cosplay.
I want my big Norn Bara breasts.
What are you talking about?
Here's the right, it's a serious question. Serious question. Why are the male nipples so far out to the side of their torso?
I actually really understand that.
They need some breath. Oh,
Some breath.
Yeah, but why is the nipple basically like
TMI.
underneath their arms? I don't understand what's happening here. Anyway,
No,
I have a
they're not
friend
just
who
like
likes
they're
to
not
be.
siblings. They're distant cousins. It's okay.
I'm very confused about what's happening right now. So.
Okay, we'll explain it to you when you're gayer, Jebro.
It's okay.
my innocent mind right now.
Nipples, Jebro, nipples.
I have a friend. He's called Dark Griever. All his characters are like buff fairies, and all of his nipples are just like they're like like ball-eyed. It's just not good. I just, like you can't see anything else. He looks great, but the nipples call for your attention.
Like, which nipple do I look
every
at?
time?
Nipples.
I would really love
which nipple
it.
is talking to me at this time?
I would love
Yeah.
it if in the future, ArenaNet for future expansions, could we please get a nipple update? Can we like just update this nipple models? Thank you so much. Yeah.
Oh no, we need a nipple slider so we can
Oh my
decide.
god.
What's happening?
Sorry. I don't know. I'm
Jebro,
sorry.
do you
I'm
have
sorry.
any? Do you have any like sexy fashion for
Yeah,
the male
sexy
characters?
fashion
Do you have any
so we can
like?
see.
But no, I'm literally at them there
You have
already.
like?
Maybe
Do you have the
going
ones
over.
where it's literally nothing but just like?
Oh, I
like a
know
harness?
exactly what you're talking about. I know because the first
Yeah.
character I ever made was an Orn, and the first armors you would get would be things like this, and it's where there is a nipple window almost, but there's also nipple coverage.
No,
and then there's the
not
game. Oh no,
those.
I know. They started off very like, they were hiding the nipple. And then the
That's a
nipple
chafe
was released.
warning,
As really
chafe warning right there. Need some stickers.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the armor. Is it there? Yeah, there's just one nipple, and then they went to one nipple,
A single nipple.
single, and then they went for
there was
double,
one.
Kitty out.
and they went for some boobage. They went for the
There's
push-up.
there's an armor piece, which is a top, which is basically just like a waist belt, it's like shapewear, where it's just on the waist, and then
I
like chest
remember.
up, there's nothing, which is like.
What is that? Is that an outfit?
I've never
though?
been like, I've never had those feelings to a character I've made before. I don't know if I'm just touch starved or if I'm really going through it, but I really really like that.
Do you have that outfit with the nipple rings, with the hooves and the nipple rings?
Oh yeah, I do.
There are nipple rings. Oh,
Is that
those?
the Is that the? Is that the one of the really earlier outfits?
Fairly elderly.
I know which one you're talking
There's
about.
a nipple ring outfit.
Is it
There
this?
is a nipple
They're
ring.
not
No.
nipple rings though. Is
yeah.
it this one?
Oh, near enough. Yes.
It's close.
near enough. It's close.
That's
it would
pretty
be a
hot,
nipple
too.
ring for a char. Yeah.
So I love how we're talking about the expansion and stuff and the update and how he suddenly. I mean, I'm not surprised we got here. I think we started off the podcast in that
We
way.
started off strong.
We started off strong and we just ended up here, and it might be a good place to kind of move,
know
either
what,
move on or
Cookerino-
stop.
Cookerino is doing a great job at synthesizing what we need to talk about. So number one, art department, get on the new symbol. And number two, maybe do a nipple slider. Just,
Nipple
brainstorm.
slider.
Or brainstorming.
Nipple
But
sliders.
There
new
was also
symbol
a
does take a little bit of
huge-
precedent.
There was a huge sale in the game at the moment as well, just FYI. It's pretty massive on like most things. There's so much stuff in the store. Yeah, there's so much stuff in the store right now. Okay. I think we've hit some big things. Is there anything that I've really missed out? I don't want to like miss. I mean, we're going to talk about these things a bit more in depth for probably individual podcasts at some point in time, because we're going to need some content between now and the next one, other than just the story. So,
This is true.
because it's going to be 3 months.
I think we hit every like major release for the
I
patch.
feel like there was some things we talked about before that we have not talked about.
We talked about the weapons, talked about maps, talked a little bit on the story, talked about the legendary armor. I don't know if anybody has tried the new bosses, Dreadwing and Hellsister for convergences.
I did. I fought one of them. It was yeah, it was a fight.
Oh no.
It really wasn't. I
It really wasn't. It was a fight. It really wasn't.
The sister is that what the boss is? I forgot the name, but the female Cryptus model with the staff. It got a little bit more interesting towards the end, but it was it's the more convergence variety. So yeah, I liked it.
That is something that I'll say generally about like the rifts and other stuff. I really like the idea of all of them for content. I think there's a lot of potential there with it being like, the convergences, the rifts. I do wish that they had been a little more unique and a little bit more interesting in design. Like some of them are, but like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where like at a certain point when you just have enough number of players, everything just becomes, it seems like just so besides the point. But we've seen in things like, some of the metas, we've seen even with Dragon's End, that like you can have challenging fights even at a large scale with big events like this or larger groups and squads. So I kind of wish that there had been perhaps a bit more with either the scaling difficulty or with some of the unique bosses, because I do think that like when they say we've added 2 new bosses to stuff like convergences, unless there's something about that I'm really like, oh, cool, I feel like this is a new challenge for me, or, something that accompanies that. As of right now, I'm just like, oh, cool, so there'll just be like some different guys that show up, but it'll like pretty much be the same thing.
Yeah. It is a nice.
Is there a unique
additional...
loot table, by the way? Is like additional loot that can kind of tempt people in?
I don't believe there is for these 2 bosses, because they're going to be cycling on a rotation. So it'll be the sister and the other dragon, or this new dragon, and then next week it'll go back to Ignaxius and the first dragon. So they'll be on a rotation. So I don't think there is a unique loot table, but they do come with some unique mechanics, which I think, Rook, you point out are great. It's just kind of about the scaling. And once you get so many players into a map, it's kind of like you get lost in the sauce, and it feels like you kind of just become one with the mob. So I agree. I think that was, overall, it's another way for you to get some Cryptus essence to work towards your legendary armor in a larger scale with more Cryptus essence. So it's a nice way to pad that system out as well.
Sorry, go on.
We didn't show off the new infusion, did we? Did you show off the new infusion?
I flicked past it on your video.
Okay. Because there's the CM in chat. There's the CM.
Yeah, I was going to say
there's a new title to get, and yeah.
Let me go on to that. For sure, we can do that as the, because Proof and Rook were talking about that before we came on today as well. So do you want to talk about maybe, the scene around that and how that's been looking? How's that? That's been exciting to watch for you guys.
People are progging it. There were some bugs. They fixed the bugs. We're down to like 14%. Whoever's going to get world first, congratulations. It will not be me. I can tell you that right now. But it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I love that we're seeing some endgame content that has in any way engaged something like a world race, we saw it with Harvest Temple, we see that here or there, but like Guild Wars 2 doesn't have as large of a kind of world race scene, if you will, largely because like content's been a bit inconsistent. We don't know like specifically when high challenge things are going to come out, and the range of that difficulty of those challenges can be pretty massive, right? We don't know. I really like it with the cat chair. Yeah. That was a really good choice. So it's one of those things where when we get a fight and we get a CM that is so notably difficult that like we start seeing it streamed and we see the community getting excited, and I see people in my Discord posting updates like they still haven't cleared it. We're on another day. They haven't cleared it. That is so exciting from an endgame perspective for Guild Wars 2. And I would really love if there was some way that we could more consistently anticipate that level of challenge. And maybe we'll get more into that cycle with something like the yearly releases and the new cadence, and we'll have an idea of which one might be like the really difficult ones within that release cycle or whatever. But it's fun to see, and it gets people interested and excited, and people that love Endgame, their interest turns on to Guild Wars 2, and that's something that I just love to see more of.
Nice.
Couldn't agree more. I feel like it's a avenue of content that is not taken advantage of enough by the team, which they could do really well because they can make some incredible content and some incredibly difficult content to tackle. The amount of hype and the amount of interest that you can generate on this platform. I mean, you shoutcast this stuff. You know better than most of us how excited the communities get, right? I mean, it's crazy. So, yeah, I would love to see that more.
I agree with everything like everyone's saying, but there's a reason why they don't produce like the raids and stuff anymore as much. And I think they're doing it right with strikes, but like there just isn't that. Guild Wars 2 isn't. It's not bad for them to focus on it as much as they are, I think, but it's just not their biggest crowd of people.
I think it could be.
Nah.
Guild Wars has some incredible combat, but I think they need to really dedicate doing a bunch of systems updates behind the scenes.
Yes.
Integrating things like a boss dungeon guide, like a journal for you to read up on the fight, for you to have an LFG system. Sorry, I'm sucking on a throat loss.
I love this like crew with thing in mouth kind of audio experience.
Got like a straw and a piece of wheat in my mouth, like howdy partner. But I think it could be, but it would just take dedicated effort to really build it up to something where we could have shoutcasting that goes into world firsts or new raid releases or strike releases or fractor releases, whatever it may be.
There isn't
for people to
anything
kind of cast it.
stopping people from doing this though. This is a community.
Kind of.
This is a community.
Kind of.
And there are tons of communities and channels that do it without companies. What we need to do is have the permission of streamers.
Oh, yeah. Well, but the thing is, too, that things like World First Races, right? Like, they are things that have to be planned on a massive scale, whether they are, like, produced officially with finances behind them or their community efforts. And it's very difficult, I think, if you don't know what is going to be the challenging content. Does that make sense? Like, you know,
well,
like
yeah, World of Warcraft is just assumed, isn't it? Like, you know, this is going to be the next thing, and this is the hardcore, you know, it's the next
Well, because
thing.
you know, like, you know in the schedule where the raid falls, and you know when they unlock the higher difficulty thresholds of those raids. And the same thing goes for 14. It's much more difficult in Guild Wars 2 because, yeah, we don't have consistent raid release schedules. It's not like we get, you know, whatever new raid every year. And again, the difficulty spectrum is massive. So you might have a CM for, you know, like the first boss in Soto. You might have a CM that comes out and it's like not even a thing. You know, like people are just like, and we're done and we cleared it. You might have a CM like this one that comes out and suddenly you've got, you know, 2 days on your hands. So certain groups that like kind of just put out some streaming content for it might catch these moments, but it's not as though it comes out reliably and regularly enough at a threshold to have anything like a race of any duration, especially now that we're down to like single boss fights and stuff too, which we've seen some really challenging and really engaging ones, which is really cool. So there's potential there. But again, like in order to put together something on a larger, more visible scale, in order to give teams time to sign up, in order to promote, in order to, you know, schedule casters, in order to have production time slotted, you have to know when the content is happening well ahead of time. And that's just something that we don't necessarily have in Guild Wars 2. And to revisit what you were saying, Deborah, I think raid communities are always the minority of any MMO. They just are.
But in Guild Wars 2, I think even more so.
But I almost think that it's a self-perpetuating cycle, if that makes sense, right? Like there has been an avid raiding community over time. I myself, in the time that I've streamed the game, have watched a lot of that community depart. This is not to say anything specific about whether it's good or bad to have more, you know, other types of content explored or whether or not raids work.
Raids are good, but like.
But I will say this: there's no other game that I play where even how many years has it been since we had our last Raid Wing released?
6 or 5, 6, 7.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah.
It was like Living World Season 4, right?
Oh my gosh.
The Kiev Adashim or something?
Yes.
Holy cow. There is no other game that I play, period, where any amount of raid community would still be running the raid 6 years later. And yet my own community runs 2 raid nights a week, and many of them continue to raid nonstop, and clear all the wings every week and do all the stuff. Part of that is because of the gear, yes, but more of it is because and the community. But like you pointed out, Kroof, the combat in this game is fun. The builds are fun. The unconventional sort of setups and flexibility of class and composition is fun. So people really get hooked on it, and they keep playing it to the point that they're playing raids that are 6 years or more old.
I did do some research. It's almost been 5 years. It'll be 5 years.
Okay, 5.
But still, yeah.
I think, well, I mean, yeah. I mean, they're playing content which is that old. If they were playing, if we had new raids, they would just be playing those and they wouldn't be playing the old ones because they're still relevant, right? When content is still relevant, then people will play it. I think the reason they stopped making raids, there was a reason why they stopped making raids, right? So like focusing so much more on it, and I think they're just very careful about making the kind of content where it's like ArenaNet made specifically, where it's a focus of a production on one game mode, because PvP was unfortunately the big test of that, and it just didn't go well. I'm not saying it would be the same or the raid stuff would be good, so I know why they don't want to do it. I know completely why they don't want to do it. But like, I'm really glad that there were strikes. I think they should just, like, the strike stuff is really great. I think it's a really, really great opportunity. I think it's good where it is. I don't think there's enough people.
I don't think strikes are good where they're at in terms of quantity.
Oh man, they can have more, but like, you know, it's all about, I mean, that's indicative again of the amount of people that play and engage in this stuff. They wouldn't, if they were making, they will cater to the audience that play their modes. It's like PvP. PvP died because the community would just died and it just went down.
Well, this is a question though. This is the question though. Like, you can just say they stopped making content because people weren't running it or won't run it, or there weren't enough people. But like, what about fractals? What about dungeons?
There's more people running fractals.
Well, what about new world versus world maps? What I mean is that
I've got an argument for each one of those.
but here's the thing, right? Like, while they haven't stopped all of those things, like they haven't stopped, we get fractals, but we get them very sporadically. So when Kroof says we need more, or when we say, like, you know, maybe we need more raid content or things like that, I don't necessarily think that it has always been a case in ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2, as much as I love the game and I love the content and I love a lot of other things that they do in it, right? The variety of it. But I don't think it's always been the case that they stop making things because there aren't people to play it. I think that a lot of times it's more so that they have a very small team, and the capabilities of what they realize with that team oftentimes are limited, and even sometimes under-deliver from what the community would engage with. And that's not to devalue the work of the team. They're doing what they can with what they have. But I think if we got a new fractal or 2 new fractals, which is about on par for what we get like a new dungeon every patch with Final Fantasy 14, right? So like, if we got a new fractal every 3 months in Guild Wars 2, people would play it and they'd run it and they do the content and they get more involved in making that a part of the cycle that they do if they haven't engaged with fractals previously, and if there were rewards and that was part of the content cycle. And I truly believe the same thing for the full spectrum of content of this game. Like, if they added new world versus world maps, if they added new raids, I do think people would play them. Now, do they always have the luxury of saying, with our team and our resources, what is going to be the best thing that we can do? So maybe we don't deliver on XYZ content so that we can do this thing. Yes, I think we see a lot of those trade-offs, but I don't always know that that necessarily is something that reflects like whether or not the player base themselves would engage with it, if that makes sense.
It's a business. I mean, it's just as simple as that. It's a business. It's what people focus on. I mean, it's really. We can probably have this discussion forever. But when it comes down to it, and when I've had these, it's very much that business mentality. It's like, what sells? What keeps people in the game? Raids didn't. Strikes are more engaging because they're shorter, because you just need to run in, which is why they changed it to strikes. But I just don't
They didn't
think
have the
they're
system support for raids. They never put in place the system support to set up for the whole community and not just a very small patch of the community. They didn't make it as open as they could, and they still don't have the systems in to support it. It is.
They've got the thingamajigs things, and if they had like a raid make it, like you say, I think if they increase the systems, sure, absolutely agree, they would be on to a banger, but they're not going to do it.
I mean,
they're just not going to.
Here's my thought.
I don't think it's also. I don't think it's harming them at all.
If I say Final Fantasy 14, then I think of story and raids. That's what it's known for. Fantastic in-depth story, bombastic, insane raid bosses, right?
Yeah.
If you think of World of Warcraft, it's all about the raids. Their focus, the kind of the center, the axis mundi around which that game spins is its end game content. Which bit of Guild Wars is it? Is it open world? Is that what the game's best? No.
When was the biggest spike of player base in Guild Wars 2 history other than the first expansion?
Launch.
Path of Fire.
True. It was literally
Am I wrong?
very recently. Were raids anything to do with that success? No, they weren't.
No.
Not at all. Another really good example of what Guild Wars 2 does very well in other areas. It's all about the combat, maybe the open world, the maps.
Open world.
There's so much more different stuff why people enjoy Guild Wars 2. Sure, there's like not the... Guild Wars 2 is not aimed at a raid community focus. It's just not It's just not aimed at that population. It never has been.
But to say they are planning something for expansion 5.
They
So
could
it's
be.
no longer
Maybe,
a matter
hopefully.
of if, ands, or buts. It's that there is something that is being talked about early enough before even teasing what the next expansion is. Beyond all that, for something for players to look to that, because it is a great system, be it casual or hardcore. PvE endgame is something that can keep players playing the game consistently enough outside of open world quests or story. So if they are willing to at least tease it, I think they are planning something on the level of perhaps more consistent strike missions, more consistent fractals. Biggest thing would be raids. So it's no longer a matter of if they're not going to do something. We know they are doing something. So what can they learn from past experiences
They're going to have to put in a shitload
better
of systems.
stabilize this upcoming expansion 5 feature?
And I don't want to sound like I'm being an arsehole or mansplaining about this, because I realize that might be how this is going across. But it's just literally like I have a really strong opinion about the kind of people they're aiming this game at. Not the kind of people they're aiming at, the kind of casual experience they're aiming at, and that's their big focus. Does that mean they don't do raids? No, it doesn't mean they don't do it. I just don't think it's like enough of a focus for them to be doing it as something consistently, and I think it's dangerous to get back into that way of doing things, because I don't think it really sold the game in its true light, which is the kind of, I guess it's like we can say about, like, you know, the raids that happen and people are still playing them to this day, but people are still killing the world bosses from launch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. It's like people are still playing the same maps in PvP. The community is the thing, which is what people are playing for.
They do offer very different gameplay experiences in the way that you approach those.
Yeah, absolutely. But
can we say that the game has open world raid bosses? Because I feel like,
to a degree,
especially with the big metas like Dragon's End and that kind of thing, and in the Heart of Thorns, specifically the Heart of Thorns metas, they feel just like massive open world raid bosses, and I feel like that isn't kind of highlighted and people miss it. I mean, I remember watching Preach play through, and he's like, "Oh, I've beaten all the content," and he hadn't done a single open world. But I'm like, "Dude, you have not done the open world raid content yet. That is the kind of the cusp of it. Just get your ass in there." And they're extraordinary experiences. Even Andy went back and polished a load of them a few years ago with the Shatter and making new abilities, and so I always worried when I was playing through, and I feel like the game is much more stable now. I feel much more confident. I feel like we're good. We're more confident that there is a long future for this franchise. But the thing that used to worry me was that they would take up many different types of game and just drop them. And it was like they were experimenting in real time with different game types. And what I've always said is I just pick a lane, guys. Decide what your cusp is, your purpose, and just put your heart and soul into it. And I think the people who love the franchise like us, we'll follow you. And we'll shout and cheer for you as you do it. You know?
Yeah. I know I'm gonna get beaten in the comments for this on the YouTube because all the raid people are gonna be like, "Shit, Jebro does not want fun. I want fun." But like we've already seen in this expansion that things get almost castrated when we have so much else going on, and it's like if we add raids, what else is gonna suffer? You know, I'm like, and then you will hire a raid team, but like that's money, and like. I'm worried, and I'm worried again that exactly what you're saying, Fornax. They do another raid, and it just ends up the same thing again. Like people are just gonna get pissed again because there won't be raids included in the future. So I'm like, if you're not gonna have raids again and you don't produce raids, maybe there's a reason for that, or maybe you made a mistake and you can come out and talk about that. Good. If they make raids, I'm not saying don't ever make raids again. I like raids. I actually think they're really fun. I loved doing them. I have PvE legendary armor like really early from doing them. It was a pain in the ass, but I enjoyed it. But still, I really think there's a reason why I don't raid in Endgame and other MMORPGs. I think I'm just in that place. So I'm like, I love Guild Wars 2 when I just for that casual fun experience, and I think we underestimate the amount of people that just play it for that reason, right? Like that's the reason why people play Guild Wars 2. That's why they play it.
But I think they've been doing it for so long that they feel
Sorry.
comfortable with that system. I don't
No,
think...
I'm so sorry. For next, I'd love to hear you argue against Jebro.
yes.
Go on.
Sorry, what was this urgent? What was about to?
Sorry. But you can have casual raiding. I am literally the casualest
Oh no,
bitch
but
in
that's
the
what I
world.
said. But you can casual, but you
And
can
WoW.
casual raid, yeah. But like it's not
You totally can't. You can't,
it's
but you
not
cannot. You cannot casual raid in Guild Wars 2. The hardest boss you will ever defeat is finding a group to
Well,
play
there you
with.
go. What
That's the hardest boss.
That's
if
tea.
they
So
do that,
true.
I mean we've talked about that.
We
we
have
talked about
ad
that literally
nauseum. I
earlier.
know.
But like I know
Sorry.
that I've like championed LFG for as long as we've been doing this podcast with like Proof, and like we've been talking about this for ages. It's like
Krupp, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I really wanted to hear the.
Oh no. I love that. It was worth it. It was worth it.
I
it
mean,
wasn't really an
I think
argument, but
I think there are two things here, right? One is what do we actually expect the game to literally deliver? And in those regards, I agree with you, Jeb, in that no, I don't think we will probably ever see Guild Wars 2 actually have a content release cadence that is comparable with games like 14. WoW has had its rough spots as well. Let's just be real, but they've been in a much better cadence as of late. So no, I don't think we will see that with Guild Wars 2 for many reasons, for the limitations of their studio, for the finances, for the lesser cost of the game overall, for many other things. And what they deliver is still wonderful. It is still, like we've talked about, so much more than you get in any other game for so little money. It's incredible what they are able to deliver with that. But I do also think the other side of this is fair to discuss in an MMO landscape, right? We as MMO players that have the freedom to go pick, choose, or play any game can engage with MMOs in the genre for any number of reasons. And the full spectrum of content that's on offer in these style of games are things that different communities and different groups engage with. And so just as I think that saying, like you're saying that we underestimate or undervalue the power of the casual player in an MMO setting, I agree with you, because I think many times the vocal raid communities and things really, I'm just going to say it, I'm going to allow myself a little curse as a treat. They shit all over the idea.
Jesus, that's the first time I've heard
The
you say
idea of like a casual gaming landscape and delivering content to those players that enjoy that. But simultaneously, I don't think that we can say all Guild Wars 2 players just play Guild Wars 2 to be casual, because it is not the truth. Like, there are many different players that are experienced MMO players who look for a variety of different things in the MMOs that they play. So sort of figuring out what we as players might want from an MMO is something that, whether or not Guild Wars 2 delivers it, is still very fair to discuss, especially when it does come to things like, yes, the visibility, excitement, and engagement that large-scale endgame events or competitive events can have for games. You know, my gosh, we just did the MDI. I was just casting the MDI with Blizzard. We had 16,000 people every single day, if not more, at various times.
How many people play World of Warcraft?
A lot.
But again, this is a highly visible event.
Even when content creators ran their own Guild Wars 2 endgame content, it made into journalism news and was covered by other WoW streamers because of the amount of effort that Hardstuck and other guilds have put into these things.
That's true.
So people are always looking for that entertainment value for endgame content.
It is good. It is good. I mean, again, like I'm not really arguing against anything specifically. It's more of just like a focus on and a taking away from an area, because again, like they just don't have it's the capacity for it. And like for them as a business, how logical is it for them to do X, Y, Z, right? And the reason why they came away from raids, like we don't know. I mean, they've kind of told us why they do that. They actually stopped as well.
I think our position as content creators and people who cast these games and make videos about it is more so to talk about. It's not really to get into like the business side, because we ultimately don't know what they can and cannot do. It's more so just what is being presented to us, what information do we have in front of us, especially with expansion 5 on the horizon.
Yeah.
And how do we generate community discussion around that? So
I mean, the business side does come into it though, because we've literally been talking about like the price of the game. We've talked about the Astral Vault being accessible to players. So we've been talking about the business. We talk about the business a lot.
I mean, as consumers though, right?
Yeah,
as consumers rather than as producers, because
it's a big part. Like we pay with money. It's a business. That's what it is. Like it's never be a big. We could have this conversation for ages, and I can get on my high horse about all of it forever. So there's no point. But like I'm very much on my own here about this. I think apparently, and that's okay. That's totally okay.
You are wrong, and you should feel bad.
I do feel bad.
I'm obviously joking.
It's just like. It's just that side of it, and I'm a little bit jaded by that side of it because I was so involved in the PvP stuff, and I just know how much of how much the business is guided by literally the amount of players who play that stuff, because it makes sense, and it sucks. Not
enough Anusol in the world.
Yeah, and it sucks because you want this stuff, and I would absolutely love the fact for raids to be more of a thing. I would adore that. I think that would be one of the best things that Guild Wars 2 can do. It's just a logical piece of my piece I like to throw across, that's all. And I'm a very feely person, you know. I literally do that as my job. Like my job is to not crush the dreams and hopes of people. If anything, it's to support and nurture that. So you know, I'm not trying to defeat and like be me. I think I'm just being very, very logical about this, and I'm not often that logical about things at all.
Honestly, I think I'm going to be controversial. If it was a choice between raid content and actual story dungeons, from a purely like enjoying the gameplay experience, I would rather have some traditional dungeons. And I mean, they could add challenge modes, they could do all sorts. You can do a lot with content, with like group instance content. You really can. But I really miss that, and we haven't had that since vanilla. So, you know, the stuff that the community has been like crying about, weep into our toast. But look, I still love the game. I'm still shill for this bitch. I love it all. So, but there were things, I think there were things that we want, and I guess we have expectations as MMO players because of the space we're in, and that's just kind of the reality of the situation. And Guild Wars 2 has kind of broken the paradigm and broken the mold and gone off on their own in so many different directions, some to great success, others not so much. And I guess we're all just trying to cheerlead the game because we want it to be a success. And it
has been in the last couple of years. It's done better than it's done since Heart of Thorns. I mean, the game is doing really well. Like, you know, this is why, like, what do they need to change if they're on a kind of, are they on a good arc? Like, I mean, we've got things to talk about story next week, so that's going to be a thing in itself.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think for all of this discussion, right? Like, I do still think that, I mean, my gosh, the game is doing great. Yeah, End of Dragons, massive sales. I mean, it was very visible. They had a very large kind of advertising campaign with that was so phenomenal. There's a lot of excitement, especially with it being, you know, like an XPAC that was releasing after a while, and as well just like the timing with greater interest in MMORPGs in the community. There's a lot of things that I think have kind of contributed. And Guild Wars 2 just delivering a really great game that is unique, that in an atmosphere of many other games that are nickel and diming you, that are making you pay more than ever for less than ever. Guild Wars 2 is really refreshing, and it's a really wonderful and accessible option for many players. And honestly, I do think that Secrets of the Obscure shifting into this new format, for whatever critiques we might offer about balancing it and the story pacing and things like that, we were talking about this before we even started the podcast. I still think overall it has been a wonderful success for them, because it has shown that it can give us much more consistent, reliable pacing. We are getting a lot of good stuff. They have stuck onto the schedule and everything else that they've said they would. We're not going to have these kind of indefinite question mark living season cycles afterwards. And across the board, it's been much more reliable and consistent, I think, just generally as a package of features, story, maps, and experience than, you know, we maybe saw with the uncertainty of Icebird Saga, is what we were comparing to earlier, right? That it across the board, I think, has been a bit more smooth and a bit more solid in how they've kind of, I guess not even a bit, a lot more, and how they've delivered everything, let alone on now a yearly cycle cadence. So like, there are things to take away from the experience of switching to this new format, for sure, and things to tweak looking ahead. But overall, I mean, yeah, the game is doing great. We've even seen World of Warcraft and other games starting to finally take things from Guild Wars 2 to populate in their games, because it just works so well. So again, all of our critique is just because... Yeah. All of our critique is just because...
Oh my god, that dragon riding is awful in comparison. Jesus Christ. I tried it recently. I was just like, what is this? Why did you even bother? Like, come on, man.
It can be fun. It just, you have to get used to it, and you have to shake off some of what you expect from Guild Wars 2 with it, because Guild Wars 2 was so smooth.
The animations and stuff, yeah, it's just too good.
But yeah, like, again, this is just critique, discussion, and feedback around the game. Not anything that is, like, again, discrediting how phenomenal it is in the landscape of MMOs that we have.
No, I think that's the thing, right? If you've got a good thing going, what is it you change? And if you focus and switch, like, is that going to mess things up? Is it going to do things? Does it even, like, when you employ a new team, they don't necessarily have to. So this, off the success of the last couple of years, they could just employ a new team that is a raid team, and it doesn't actually impact the rest of the game, because they don't take people off other parts of the game. If they can do that, it'll be worth it for them. I think it will be worth it for them. But if they take people away, I don't know if it will be. I just don't think it would.
I think we also have to consider that this is the first of a new type of expansion. This is a whole kind of, this is generally a paradigm shift for them in how they've been making content. And so I think that they will be learning and iterating what works, what hasn't. They'll be listening to maybe this podcast, definitely the forums, definitely listening to people on what's been a hit, what's been a miss. And they do genuinely respond and care about community feedback. So I mean, and that is almost unique in the gaming space. I mean, only now after World of Warcraft player numbers dropped to horrific levels did they actually start to listen to their community. You think that you do, but you don't. And actually, no, the community actually did, and it saved the game once they listened to them, right? So I feel like we're actually in, as Guild Wars 2 players, we're in a privileged position, because not only do we get the most bang for your buck in the MMO space, not only do you get one of the fairest cash shop models in the gaming universe, because you can exchange in-game gold for the stuff and not have to spend a brass farthing on any of the aesthetic items in the game, but you also have a responsive
And not a responsive Phoenix.
Oh, no.
And on
Hello?
that note,
Yeah, well, okay, on that note, well.
We are going to end the podcast. We've been going on for ages. That debate was very long.
tune in next week for more information when we finally get to realize what Fornex was saying.
I'm sorry if I got heated during that, people. I am not normally so strong-willed about things, but I did get a little bit saucy there, so I apologize if anyone got very upset with my words. Oh, there you go, Phoenix. No?
Hello?
Hi, sorry, my net crashed. I apologize.
Oh, welcome
dear.
back.
Your picture was still there.
She was strong, a trooper, resilient.
Did you want to finish what you're saying? Because we're going to end after that.
I don't know where I left off. I have no idea.
don't know either.
I was on brain rant.
Rewind.
So I like
Someone
Guild
go
Wars
forward.
2. It's very good. Yeah.
Oh,
Something Guild Wars 2 is good. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, ultimately, if we're honest, the thing that would catapult Guild Wars 2 into the best place it could ever be is the introduction of a race called the Dwarfs. And I'll just leave it there. I'll just leave it there. Honestly, I think it would save, it doesn't need to save the game because the game doesn't need saving, but it would be the best thing for the game. And that's actually what I care about.
Bless you. Was that a little sneeze I heard? Maybe not. Oh my
This could be
god.
the biggest disagreement we have in podcast history about the Dwarfs.
I would have expected you to say Tengu.
I don't care about birds.
Oh, well, I'll be over here pulling for the Tengu. Don't worry, everybody.
Does everyone disagree with me again? Why am I always the one that's the mean one? It's not fair.
Gosh. Jebro,
Hey,
am I right?
we can't have discussion without someone being at her bell end, so, it's got to be me today.
It's gonna be me.
I love these
Sexy March
conversations. I
now.
just genuinely actually really enjoy them. They're good. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Okay. So, if you have watched this video and you're upset with me, in the comments below, I suggest
Leave it in the comments.
you
like and
go ham
subscribe.
on my face. Respectfully, you are very welcome to disagree with me, and I will accept that disagreement because it's an opinion, and we're all allowed to have them.
Get
And
in
mine
those
isn't-
comments. Rev up them fryers.
Mine is not the only one, and it's not correct because it's just an opinion.
You can say that again.
And that's all it is. Hey, you. Hey, that's what an opinion is. Opinion. Doesn't mean it's right. I don't think I'm right. I think I'm very right. Anyway.
Opinions are like assholes. They should only ever be aired on request. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, feels good. Okay.
Oh boy. Okay. Okay.
You're on my side, but you don't know what it was. Are you sure you don't? Are you sure you sure? You might want to be careful about that one. It's a good side. It's the side of the dwarfs and the Welsh mostly. Okay, so everyone, thanks so much for watching. I've got to go and do my laundry. Proof, tell us what you're doing, where you do it.
Hey everyone, I'm Kroof. I do a lot of videos over on YouTube. I say a lot, I'm a complete liar. I'm a pathological liar because I haven't made a video in so long. But I also stream here on Twitch. So, you know what, find me, Kroof, KROF_ sometimes.
Rookery.
Yo. Hey, what's up? I'm Rookery. I'm doing the smoker voice that Kroof just did. No, hi, I'm Rookery. You can find me on YouTube at Rookery. You can find me on Twitch at Rookery. And you can find me on Twitter at Rookery_. That's spelled ROOKURI. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I got. Don't show people your buttholes unless you're a cat, and then really, honestly, no one can stop you.
And if you're a dog,
or
knock
if
your
you're
shit
not
sending,
do
out.
that.
yeah, somebody just says that it's cool, then like that's fine too. But
Yeah. Your butt is
And if
pretty
you're
cool.
a cat. Good lord. Okay, Fornex.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, outro. Oh, hey, I'm Fornex. I make content on the internet. Go check out my stuff. Where
Excellent.
it is. Yep.
And I've been Jebro, your mansplainy white privileged male this week. It's just been a bit of a, been on one a little bit. And I don't know if anyone's going to return to the podcast next week. So we'll find out. I mean, I could be fired now. We'll see.
Uno reverse card.
Hardcore Uno reverse card. But we will... Wow, butthole is actually sex-based term, which was denied by an auto mod. I'm good with butthole. Butthole's fine.
That makes sense.
Sorry about that.
That's the tagline for the podcast. Many buttholes were shown. Yeah,
Yes,
that was.
indeed. We'll be back next week to talk about story, which might even be more controversial than anything else. So we'll find out.
Ooh,
Where
it
is
is
it?
true.
Go and play the story if you want to watch next week, or just delay that episode because we will be talking about it next Friday. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Check us out twitch.tv/JebroUni on Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific-ish, on Spotify and all the things. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Ta-ta!